Hello and welcome to another episode of the Uncommon Energy Podcast. On this week's episode, we'll be chatting about a cheater caught red-handed at the Bogota special event this past weekend. We'll also talk about the tournament results from Bogota, as well as the Philippines and Indonesia championships that took place this past weekend as well. We'll have Guess That Flavor Text, everyone's favorite segment of the podcast. Even if it's not your favorite segment, we all know it really is your favorite segment.
Just
And
want to
then
be
we'll
different.
close out the episode by chatting about the Hartford and Malmo regional championships, as well as the Buenos Aires special event taking place this weekend. Tons of Pokemon tournaments happening right now, Azul. And yeah, that's right. I'm Chip Ritchie here, joined by my co-host, as always, Azul GG. What's going on, Azul? How we doing, man?
I'm doing all right. Had a productive week with content, of course, and then I finally got my. I think I mentioned it last week on the podcast. I got my PS5. I didn't set it up yet, but I've been playing some Ragnarok. I'm not too deep into the game yet, and then I'm gonna play the new Star Wars game. And I also during buying my PS5, I also bought the game Horizon Zero Dawn because I'd heard it was really really good.
So it's the first
And
one, right? You didn't buy the new
yeah,
one?
yeah, I bought the first one. Yeah, that's why I can't do that. Like, it's like whenever I know there's some people out there who will watch the second of a movie or just like start a series as like a TV show in the middle of like in season 3 or something, just because that's the
Yeah.
one that's like on right now. I can't do that. I have to have the full complete, and I'll even go like as far out of my way to watch all the side stuff or like play all the side games. I like having the complete package, as long as I enjoy
So you didn't
the
play GTA 5. You started with GTA 1 and then
I played
GTA.
zero. I played zero of
Okay.
the GTA's. That is a game. If I was ever to play it, I would probably just pick up GTA 5.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
for the most part, I like to get the complete package of whatever I'm investing my time into, as long as I enjoy the series or game or whatever it might be. But yeah, so busy week. Had some fun playing Ragnarok, and yeah, getting ready for Hartford this weekend. What about you, Chip? How was your week?
My week's pretty good. Yeah, I actually played a lot of my PS5 this week, and I've been playing Jedi Survivor, which has been really good. I'm getting towards I'm pretty sure like the end of the game. I thought I was already at the end of the game, but then something happened and it's not the end of the game. Classic storytelling things, right? I don't think I like it as much as the first one still. The first one is just like really good, but this one is really fun. There's a lot more to do, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone who's going to play it or you, because I know you're going to play it at some point too. But um, yeah, it's fun game for sure. Really been enjoying it. And also, I'm casting Hartford this weekend, and it's the first tournament I have casted. I tweeted this, so it's the first tournament I've casted or like worked in 6 weeks. And it feels like it's been forever. It feels like, I mean, this will be my first tournament in the new format, so it just feels like it has been so long. And I'm actually not technically going to be casting. I'm going to be doing the like lounge hosting segments, which I'm excited about. I always love doing that. Love trying to like help find ways to fill the time that's not just playing videos over and over again. Trust me, I know people do not want to watch the videos over and over again. I get it. I don't want them to be played over and over again, but sometimes I don't know. It's just the nature of it sometimes, unfortunately. But
And
hopefully I can
downtime
find
exists.
plenty of things to fill the downtime when the opportunity arises. But yeah, looking forward to Hartford. Azul's going to be playing. I'm going to be casting. Going to be a great weekend up in Connecticut, and hopefully, I haven't actually even looked at the weather yet, but it's May, so I'm thinking it won't be too cold, right?
No, it's not gonna. It'll be like, I don't know. I want to look up the weather right now. It should be like pretty mild.
Oh,
Yeah.
57, bro. That's frigid.
Yeah, but the highs are 70s. Like that's
Okay, we're
gonna be all
vibing.
right. Yeah. Actually, the high today was 83, so that's like too hot to be honest. And it's been getting like 95s over here, so I'm excited to get a little bit cooler weather. Um, for sure. But yeah, to start things off, we're going to talk about the special event that went down. Not so much the event itself. We will talk about the results in a bit here, but the first thing we're going to talk about is the DQ that happened during the finals for some, stacking of the deck that happened in top 8 on stream. The player in question was Eder. I don't know how to pronounce. How do you pronounce Jarillo? Is that how you pronounce that last
Urillo,
name?
I think.
Jarillo.
Urio, maybe.
Jarillo.
Because it's
Yeah.
like the J is a Y and the double I or the double L is, I don't know, Spanish. I took online Spanish in high school and got like a C
Online.
in it. So,
So yeah, Eder was made it all the way to the finals up against Andrew Hedrick, a player from the US, and they got DQ'd because during their top 8 match, Um, During their top 8 match, they stacked their opponent's deck, and then in the middle of game 2 or 3, I forget, I think it was in game 2, they stacked their own deck. So this first clip that you're watching here, that Chip has up on the screen, what is happening is, they're about to offer the decks for the other player to cut. Eder picks up Jonathan's deck, starts shuffling it, and a couple times throughout the shuffle, you'll be able to see that Eder pulls a card. So anyone that's not listening or who's not watching on YouTube, I'm trying to describe this as best as I can. So Eder is shuffling Jonathan's deck,
Yeah.
um, and is never changing the top card with the shuffles. And at certain points through shuffling Jonathan's deck, Eder will pull just one card from the front of the deck, which is like the
The
card that
bottom.
at the bottom of the deck, yeah. The bottom of the deck, which is like the card that Eder probably can see best. So theoretically, I think what is happening here from Eder is that they're trying to put as many bad cards on top of the deck as possible. So that way, when Jonathan goes to draw their hand just kind of sucks. So Jonathan
Yeah.
or Eder takes Jonathan's deck, shuffles it quite a bit, is pulling one card every now and then from the bottom of the deck, leaving it on top, never changing the top card of the deck, leaving like the top, 5, 6, 7 cards exactly the same, and then passes the deck to Jonathan, and then goes for a fist bump. And this is like there was definitely some distraction tactics happening in the other clip, and this could be a similar thing here. Immediately goes for a fist bump to Jonathan as they hand the deck over.
It's like as
Hopefully
soon as
trying
Jonathan
to
touches his own deck as
yeah, like
well. It's
trying
like
to dissuade Jonathan from cutting their own deck. Because when you shuffle your opponent's deck after they shuffle it, your opponent does have the option to cut their own deck. So if Jonathan cuts their deck, then all those bad cards theoretically go to the middle of the deck, which is what Eder doesn't want, right? Eder wants Jonathan to theoretically draw those bad cards, which seems to be the way that Jonathan or Eder was manipulating the deck there in this first clip.
yeah, and if you watch this clip as well, it's on Twitter, and Azul actually posted a full video about it on his personal YouTube channel. So if
Mhm.
you want to check it out, you can watch that over there to see the clip as well. But um, yeah, I mean, you can look at Eder's face and see him like between talks, like, glancing down
Yeah.
at the deck, like, he's taking a quick little peek to see what that bottom card is, and he's maybe taking a mental note like, "Oh, is that Drapion V? I want my opponent to open that. That's not a good card against me. I wanna put that in their opening hand," or I don't know what it is. And I actually don't know, I know you watched this live as well. Could you see what Jonathan's hand was when he drew his opening 7 cards? Like, could we see what the cards were? Like, did he have clunky stuff in his opening hand, like Mirage Gate or whatever, like, things you don't want typically early on?
I think in the original time I analyzed it, I actually kind of messed up. Their hand wasn't very good. Jonathan's hand wasn't very good. And someone actually told me that, and I went back and rewatched it. I didn't think I saw this happening. I didn't like watch it more than once. But that what actually happened was at the end of the shuffle, Eder actually puts a chunk of cards on top of the deck, meaning that what Eder's game, which plan was, is that Jonathan draws those cards, and then theoretically, Eder wasn't putting dead cards on top of the deck. Eder was actually putting good cards, and then those ended up in the prize cards. But when I rewatch it, I don't think Eder actually ends up ever changing the top card. I don't think the top card ever changes
From what I just
from
saw, I
Eder.
didn't see it either.
Yeah, so I don't think the top card ever changes. So what happened there is like Eder is trying to make Jonathan draw theoretically bad cards. But when I initially analyzed this, I actually messed it up. So when Jonathan draws their hand, they draw their 7 cards. But when they immediately pick it up, they flip through it one card at a time, like people do really fast, and it completely flips the order of the cards. So the first couple cards you see actually aren't very good. There's like Sinnoh, Manaphy, Giratina V-Star, and a Mirage Gate or something. So those 5 cards are bad. The other 2 at the back of the hand, I'm not sure what those were, but a couple of those cards were theoretically cards that Eder had put to the top of the deck. So the other 2 weren't very good either because Jonathan's turn is literally top deck battle VIP pass, open the Manaphy, comfy on the bench, pass. It doesn't have an
Yeah.
energy or a switch card to move. So the whole hand is basically a brick off the rip. So
Also,
it's hard
I'll
to tell
say too,
exactly what Eder was doing, but it was not. It was definitely stacking Jonathan's deck to some extent.
yeah. I mean, I'll say normally in these situations where it's like there's a chance someone you talked about this in your YouTube video as well. It's like you try to give people the benefit of a doubt, right? You just
Yeah,
you want to see the best in people. You hope that people are good natured and want to do this. And normally when we discuss issues like this, we always try to take, I guess, the more political route of like
trying to be a
um
little bit more neutral.
yeah, be as neutral as possible. But man, this is like quite possibly the most blatant example of stacking someone's deck, of stacking the deck that has ever been caught on camera in the Pokemon TCG history, maybe in just like card gaming in general. You know, I mean, this is like pretty textbook blatant stuff that's happening here. You can see Eder glancing down at the bottom. You see one card moving, the stack of the top cards not really changing, the distraction tactic. I mean, that's not guaranteed. I think like the fist bump necessarily
Yeah,
is a
but in the
distraction
other clip
tactic, but
in the other
yeah,
clip,
it's like pretty obvious that that's like something in his foray, right?
yeah. Um,
Because in
yeah,
this clip
definitely.
that you were going to talk about here, I mean, this is during the game three. This is all happening in
Was in
game
game 3.
three of,
Yeah,
huh?
top 8.
Yeah,
Oh,
game
game
three
3 of top 4.
of
Wait.
top four. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
top
this
4,
is
my bad,
like
not top 8.
win and continue or lose and be done. So like the stakes could not be higher for the like the causation or not the I don't know what the word is, but like the
I have
reason
no
you would
clue what
want
you're
to
trying to say.
like try to get the edge is there, right? Because it's like you if you lose this game, you're done. So that's like it's like the time that Eder would most likely want to try to cheat. You can see him searching his deck here in this clip, and he's the situation here is it looks like it's turn two, right? It's turn two. He's attached turn one to his Arceus V. He's whiffed the turn. Um,
I think he
he's
actually
gonna
whiffed. I think it would like Bidoof pass. I don't
yeah.
know. Yeah,
Okay.
he's definitely he's behind a turn, I think. I'm pretty sure.
So the situation here, he's got an energy on his Arceus, and he has an energy card in his hand. He's going to attach it to his Arceus and use Trinity Charge to search his deck. But during this is like an early, he's playing a nest ball currently. So it's like he knows how this turn is going to end. During his nest ball search, so before his last search of the turn, he pulls the Flying Pikachu V to the front of his deck that he's going to bench off the nest ball. And then in the middle of his deck, he finds an Arceus V Star and slips it to the top of his deck.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that he's doing this before his final search as well, right? Because he's like, so he puts the Arceus V to the top and then decides to grab the Flying Pikachu V. It goes to the bench. He puts the deck back down and probably says to his opponent, I'm going back in. His opponent's like, yeah, yep, you're going to Trinity Charge, sir. Makes sense. Doesn't think twice about it. And then Eder
Yeah, they would have had the
attaches.
Arceus down turn 1, yeah, because like
Yeah,
Trinity Charge, they double
yeah.
attach, yeah.
Yeah, so now it's the attach, and the Trinity Charge will come out to load up the Flying Pikachu. Granted, the Arceus V-Star that he wants to top deck next turn is still on top of the deck.
I wonder if it's like a further distraction tactic. Like right there, Eder was reading Trinity Charge to make sure they could split the energy to 2 Pokemon. But like, I wonder if he knew that, or like that's something I could definitely see someone just not remembering for sure,
Yeah.
because you rarely Trinity Charge or Trinity Nova to a separate Pokemon. But he like picks up the Arceus to read it, and then searches through the deck to get the 3 energy. Does end up splitting them. I think it's 2 to the Pikachu, 1 to the the Arceus. It's actually kind of funny too, because like despite all this cheating, Eder made an egregious misplay at some point, or fairly egregious. I guess it's like not the worst misplay I've ever seen, but it almost cost him the game.
So the Arceus, so he searched the deck for the 3 lightning energy, placed them on the field. The Arceus V-Star is on top of his deck. He shuffles really poorly 2 times. The only shuffles 2 times. Like even if
Yeah,
you're not stacking your deck, you need to shuffle your deck more than this.
yeah.
But the
I
top
put a
card
tweet out
never
about that
changes. You can
this week.
clearly see it's still like you can if you watch his shuffle, you can see the top card never changes. And he almost is like leaning back. I almost wonder if he's trying to like hide it out of view of the camera. If he thinks like if he's not over the playfield, if it won't be able to be seen. But
Oh, I didn't even like
regardless,
think about maybe he does think he's out of the view of the play field of the camera over there, and he's like, okay,
only
where I
shuffles
just
it
where
2 times. Arceus
yeah,
V
the
Star's
top
on the top of the deck.
yeah top
He
card never
places
moves.
it back, and you can see his opponent is about to reach. Like his opponent starts moving. It's like they're about to reach to cut, or maybe about to reach to start their turn. I don't know for sure. But then
Yeah.
Eder, before his opponent can do anything, places his own deck down, reaches over to check the 2 cards in his opponent's discard pile that were already visible to be seen, checks the lost zone, just trying to make sure his opponent is as dissuaded as possible from reaching over to touch his own deck. And then he attaches the energies and opponent starts the turn. And then whenever he top decks his card, it is the Arceus V Star.
Yeah, there's like so many like when you like break it down and like analyze it and look at what he's doing. There's like so many more levels to this than I ever thought than I thought there would be. But they are all there, right? The doing it and then the constant distraction slash drawing attention to kind of the board state into like that final distraction maneuver at the end where like he like checks the 2 card discard pile in the 2 card lost zone, kind of dissuading Jonathan from like potentially reaching a cost to cut the deck, and then going back to attaching his energy for the turn. It is kind of Yeah, I mean, it just kind of seems second nature to Eder, and I know Eder has had some DQs in the past. I don't know what they were all for. Potentially something similar. I don't know. But this time around, the DQ did happen for very blatantly, maybe the most blatant cheating, stacking ever in the history of the Pokemon TCG. I mean, maybe not. Yeah, most blatant on stream. I guess I say maybe not the most egregious stacking ever, but you'll never be able to catch
Yeah.
that. Like theoretically, that person always gets away with it, unfortunately. But yeah, on stream, this is like the this is like just absurd that this happened. It's like kind of mind-boggling, mind-blowing that it happened on stream. And then yeah, they got DQ'd from the event in the finals because these clips weren't shared with the judges until the finals had started. They got DQ'd in the finals. Thankfully, everyone in the lower placements got bumped up, so Jonathan got moved to second place and all that stuff. So that's good to see at the very least. I'm sure Jonathan would have loved to have competed for that first place prize, but that's kind of just the way the system works, and I think it's like reasonable. It's hard to really handle these situations. Like it's never gonna be like
Well,
what is
Azul,
like the phrase
you're probably glad
fully
though that Jonathan didn't get to play in the finals to give Lost Tina a shot.
and those votes for Lost Tina still. We're holding on. We're holding on. Yeah, no one can really ever end up. That's the phrase. No one will ever be fully whole. None of the competitors will be fully whole from this unfortunate uh, happenings at the tournament. But I think the only thing we can all hope for now, moving forward, is that Eder does end up getting banned, which I don't see a
Dude,
world where
oh
Eder does
man.
not get banned, especially with prior DQs for
You
potentially
would
similar
think.
things. Like
You would think.
uh, there's just not a world.
But
This is
what has the
it would be
last 12
insane.
months told us, Azul? What has the last 12 months told us?
You don't know for sure, even if you would assume that for sure. But this is worse than I think anything that has
Bro.
happened ever.
Oh.
I think it's the worst ever in Pokemon TCG. The only thing, and I actually went back and kind of watched like all the discussions recently about like stacking, cheating, shuffling, pile shuffling, all this stuff. I've been sparking some of those conversations personally on Twitter. Uh,
Yeah, Azul's really been
um,
stirring the
has
you've been feeling spicy the last few weeks, bro.
has made me go back and like re-look at some of the plays that have stuck out in my head over the years as far as like people potentially stacking or cheating or whatever on stream. And I went back and watched. I don't know if you ever heard of the infamous Canadian Nationals,
Oh yeah.
but I went back and watched that on stream, and it was so much worse. I watched it the morning before I started streaming the special event, restreaming it and kind of just watching the games. I went back, dude. It was so much more egregious than I remember. It's so bad. I also went back and watched a lot of controversy around Shintaro versus Tord in top four of Worlds, and Shintaro definitely needed to shuffle more. Like I had never watched that before. That was bad. That was really bad. I cannot believe that a judge wasn't like, okay, hold up. I don't think like Shintaro should have gotten like probably DQ'd or game lost. But if Shintaro had no like previous warnings up to that point, Shintaro definitely should have got a warning right there. And if there was previous warnings, that definitely should have been a double prize penalty or a game loss or a DQ or something because that was bad too. I don't think Shintaro was cheating at all. And I also don't think the Canadian player that I looked at on stream either was cheating at Canadian Nationals. Because back then that's when the whole double nickeling. That's like a whole thing. If you want to like hear more about that from me, go watch my
That's
stream
some
VOD.
Pokemon
But
TCG cheating lore right
lore.
there.
But yeah, I don't think either of those players, when I went back and watched those clips on stream, were actually doing anything malicious. But it was still bad. When something is even at some point when something is so bad, it doesn't matter if you're cheating or not. You still have to get a penalty for it. So, but yeah, it was kind of funny like looking back on those after seeing this. But I think this is the worst. I think this is the worst ever. I don't think there's anything worse than this that we know of. I guess if someone wants to go back and watch like all the
Yeah, I tried to
videos ever.
find there was a guy at like Georgia Cities back in 2015, like right when I first started playing, they got banned for I think it was stacking
Oh,
on
this sounds familiar.
yeah, I don't remember the exact
Yeah, this sounds
situation and
familiar.
I tried to find the clip. I like looked through Verbank and everything like I could not find it, but yeah, I mean this is definitely it's probably yeah, I think it's pretty dang blatant. So, I mean, I think it's fair to say it's at least tied with the most blatant, if not the most blatant itself. So, it's definitely
Yeah.
this is the new benchmark to get to,
Yeah,
right?
it's gonna be hard to pass this. It's gonna be hard.
It's pretty crazy.
Um,
So, I mean, I mean, like we said, it's so blatant, it's so obvious. Like, how can Pokemon look at this and this not result in a ban? It would be mind blowing to me if it didn't. But just the way trends have been recently, We haven't seen anything for we haven't seen
Yeah.
anything. And then also, like, I mean, Pokemon just over a month ago tweeted out about in response to recent events, we are investigating the most effective ways to keep the community informed about significant changes and incidents concerning play Pokemon activities. You know, that statement. We talked about this a month and a half ago or so, whenever this was.
Yeah, I completely forgot
Obviously,
about
it's like a
this.
different situation, but like they said they're going to be more transparent. Let's
Yeah,
hear it,
because
man. Let's hear it.
yeah,
Tell us what's going on. Tell us that
yeah,
these people are being banned.
we were all kind of expecting a statement about the Makani situation, I think, following this.
Yeah.
But I guess that's just not going to happen anymore. There's no way. It's like for what, like another month from now, they'll be like, and to resolve or our whatever called statement on the problem. It's like that's too late, right? We're a month and a half out. So this is basically just what we I guess one of the things we thought it would be, which is like a statement that there's a potential for follow up statements when a situation's like something like the Makani situation came up, but they actually weren't going to have a statement about the Makani situation. But I think this is the time. This is their time to make a statement about what happened at the Bogota special event and the what will happen to Eder after after everything that went down, right? This is their time to make a statement on that and kind of actually do something with this message they put out. Or what's the phrase I'm like pretty tired right now. The phrase I'm thinking of is make good on the
Ah,
statement they had previously put out by putting out a statement saying Eder is banned. We will not tolerate such blatant cheating at Pokemon TCG events, so on and so forth.
yeah, and I mean, this was a big deal too. I was actually just looking at the leaderboard because I wasn't exactly sure where everyone was at, but Eder was 21st. I believe, assume this is him, Eder F, I think, from Mexico. So it was at 330, and with a second place finish, you know, would have been in the top 12 for Latin America to get
Yeah.
a day two spot. So yeah, I mean, he's DQ'd, so he's not getting any points, but I don't know, man. The fact that there's a world's invite going to someone who's like willing to just on public display, like, I mean, I mean, it's bad enough that you're willing to cheat at the game, but the fact that you're going to do it when you're being recorded, man, that's like the icing on the cake we haven't even talked about. Like, Eder, you know, you're on stream. What, like, how do you not think that? Like, how does it not click for someone that this is going to be seen by hundreds of people and eventually someone's going to catch this?
No, just I mean, but the thing is, like, we probably don't want the cheaters to be that smart, right? Because like, no matter what,
That's, yeah.
we're not living in a utopia. We're never gonna get to the point where there's no cheaters. There's always gonna be cheaters. So we just have to hope that they are as good at cheating and on the same wavelength as Eder, and that they cheat on stream when they get on stream finally, right? So like, that's all we can kind of hope for. Is like, we're not living in a utopia. It's not gonna happen. There's always gonna be cheaters. The thing is to try and minimize the cheating by catching the cheaters in many ways to do it. Um, and one of the ways is them blatantly cheating on stream. So hopefully they keep doing it. I think that's all we can hope for, to be honest. Like we want them to, if they're gonna cheat, cheat on stream. You know, test your limits. You test your limits. You know, if you want to be the number one cheater out there, you got to get away with it on stream. So go try it out next time you're on stream.
Yeah, that Azul is not he's being sarcastic, not encouraging cheating. No, I'm just kidding.
No, if you no, I'm not encouraging you. If you are a cheater
On
and you're gonna
stream,
cheat
yeah, yeah.
anyways, you should do it on stream as well. You should test your limits. You should see if you can get away. If you're gonna cheat, try and get away with it on stream. It's like the ultimate test, right? Because obviously the accomplishments don't mean anything to these people. They're cheating to win them, so they don't have any like pride in the accomplishment of winning. So just go all the way. Why not?
Push it to the limit. And
Yeah,
then, I mean, with the results of this, so I mean, I guess we can look at the results starting with Bogota. I keep saying it
Bogota,
wrong. I feel like Bogota. Yeah,
Bogota.
yeah. And with the winner, you know, there's a lot of discussion around this fact as well. It was won by Andrew Hedrick, of course, two-time regional champion this season, now a special event winner, notably an American player who went down to Colombia to compete in this event. And well, I mean, first off, congratulations to Andrew getting the win with Lost Box, proving he can play decks besides just Lugia, by the way, and getting the win with the Lost Box. But this discussion comes up, and I think in
Big time.
large part by people who are in the US top 16 race who are a little upset that a few, you know, three American players got a ton of points from going down and getting top 8 at this special event. This discussion comes up every single time. It feels like is should these special events be region locked? Is the purpose of these events for the local players to have more of a chance to get their invite to the World Championships, or are they meant to be similar to the rest of the regionals and the internationals where anyone can compete from all over the place?
Yeah, it's like it comes up every time. The one I put out a tweet earlier this morning, just basically saying I've never seen, and this is a main discussion point around U.S. and Canadian players going to Latin America special events. But if a bunch of U.S. players went over to a European special event, I don't think anyone would say anything. So, like, I don't think anyone's going to say anything. Like, no one would say anything, right? So, it's only contended around Canadian U.S. players going to Latin America special events. But I've never seen a Latin America player complain about it. I've never seen a Latin American player complain about these top, they are most of the time top Canadian US players, not always, but a lot, that's generally the majority, going down there to go to more major events. And you know what? It is a little bit easier to win a what was this? Was there a 76 player special
73.
event than winning a 1200 player regional, right? There definitely is a difference, right? It is easier
76,
to
yeah.
take down an event like that. It just is, right?
You play
And
less
that's
rounds,
why
way less rounds.
yeah, way less rounds. So that's one of the reasons that that some players go out of their way to go try and get these potentially easier points, right? The smaller tournaments are generally just going to be easier. The only thing that you can compare it to that wouldn't really compare is like worlds, right? But that's because it's like everyone of such a high caliber, it's like a little bit different, right? But I've never seen a Latin American player complain about it, and no one contested me on my tweet when I tweeted it out this morning yet. So if you have a different opinion, if you're a Latin American player who has a different opinion than that, feel free to tweet at me and tell me why. I'd love to know the reasons behind why you wouldn't want these U.S. or Canadian players coming down. But I don't really think. So besides that, it really is just. It's not always just like top 16 chasing American players. I feel like it's American players who bring it up. And then specifically the top 16 ones bring it up. Is it fair for the locals, as well as this does make the top 16 grind more pay to win, right? Um,
And it's not
uh,
about these events being easier, right? It's like Azul said. It's not about them being easier as far as the player base. It's about them being easier as far as the size, right? Because
yeah.
and part of that falls on the fault of the system that's in place where Andrew Hedrick won a 1,200 person regionals and a 1,500 person regionals, got 200 points for each of those things. And then he won a 76 person special event and got 200 points, right? Like it's the,
But
it doesn't make any sense.
it kind of doesn't. I don't think it's that big of a deal though, because you still want the point influx from the special event. You're still trying to hit that many points for the special event. I guess like I don't think the special event should be worth less points. Maybe once regionals pass 1,000 players, maybe they should be worth more points though. You can
Yeah.
make the argument there, right? And I think region locking is just kind of a silly discussion. I don't know the reasons that special events happen over regionals in certain areas because they give out the same prize amount. They just don't have the prize backing as far as the cash payout. I don't think there's like an official statement ever from Pokemon. I don't know if we all really
There's a
anyone knows for
ton of
sure.
theory. Like I've heard so
Yeah.
many reasons from different people, right? Like
But like there's nothing stopping anyone from going to like every regional in North America and then as many regionals as they can in Europe based on how many they can go to. Every regional they can go to, I mean, based on like date conflicts, every regional they could possibly go to in uh Latin America, and no one cares about the regionals. But for some reason, people like when special events come up. They generally are easier events because less people go to them because they're not as prestigious of events, and they don't have the prize backing to make people want to go out of their way to go to them. Right? If you can't win money by getting top 8, it's a little bit less incentive to go there. Right? So there's not as big of events. So it's only then that people truly care about anything. But like if yeah, but you'd miss so many cool interactions if you region locked anything, right? Like Tord coming over here and winning Peoria, or Alex Szymanski going over to Europe and getting second at Liverpool. Like that's so cool that can happen. It made me excited to potentially try and go to a European regional next year. I definitely want to try and go to one. Maybe I'll try and go to a Latin America regional as well, like outside of just the ICs. And if you truly want a change in the system, it shouldn't be to region lock anything. You should just want the best finish limit lowered. That's what you should be arguing for. Region locking is like the silliest thing that I think anyone has suggested ever around the
yeah.
system. What you should want is just the best finish limit to be lower, but it's already at 6. Like it's already like pretty low. I don't think it needs to be lower than 6. I think there's a lot of people out there who've got a lot of top 16s and can't get a top 8 in the US. So they complain when someone goes into like Latin America or Europe and or I guess not Europe, but goes to Latin America and picks up a top 8. Like that's what they're salty about. So if you're not going to place better, if you're a top 16 chaser and you're not going to place better at the US events, then it's not your year. Try again next year or try harder at your next event. But like blaming it on the system for North American players going to special events is so silly. Like the best finishing limit of 6 is like the lowest I think it's ever been. It's always been 8, I think, besides this year. Someone correct
Yeah,
me
I
if I'm
don't
wrong. But
remember what
like,
it was for the like half season. Was it 8 still?
um,
I don't
it might
remember
have
that.
been.
It might have been
No, I
6
think
for
it was
that one.
extended. I think it was extended. It was like 6 plus. I don't
I'm
know. I
not
don't
I'm not
remember to the
100% sure, but I do know yeah, it was 8 for quite a while. It was the best finish level 8.
Yeah, all I'm saying is the skill to achieve top 16 without going to literally everything exists in the Pokemon TCG. You're just not applying yourself hard enough to or working hard enough to achieve it. So it's possible. So you can't really blame the system until you've kind of like maximized your potential in the current system, I feel like. And then if it is that big of a hassle for you to go to that many events, then just don't play for top 16. Just get your day one invite. You're good enough to do that if you're someone who's considering chasing top 16. Get your day one invite, chill with your day one invite. But yeah, the constant like bringing up the region locking thing is kind of silly. It just needs to die. The only reasonable argument is for a lower best finish limit of regionals slash SPEs. That's the only reasonable argument. Is to like instead of
I mean,
6,
I
maybe
think
make it
higher
5 or 4.
CP for the big ones as well
That's a
is
reasonable argument as
yeah,
well. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
for bigger tournaments, like the SPEs probably should still have the current standard for regionals points giving out. The other good argument is once you reach certain thresholds, 800 players, 1200 players, whatever, the CP does bump up. That would be the only other reasonable argument. But the region locking thing is just insanely stupid. And I think it would just to take away so many good moments. Like I said, like Tor coming over here, Alex Shemansky going over to Europe. Like those are like really cool. Like it's more international play is just so cool, right? That's just like I feel like it's just really sick to see more international play. So
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, we're playing a global game these days. We got the 4
yeah,
internationals, we got worlds. Like it's all about, the world of Pokemon, right? And it's people being able to travel wherever to participate. But
region lock.
with that being said, and speaking of tournaments and the world, like we've got a bunch of tournament results to look at from events that took place this past weekend. We've talked about Bogota, but there was also the Philippines Championships and also the Indonesia Championships, which took place. We were looking at the Indonesia tournament as well. Oh, and it actually says down here at the bottom of the Limitless page as well. We didn't notice this, but the format that was played was Battle
Oh,
Styles to Scarlet Violet with the
we
addition of Scarlet Violet
dude,
1
we were
Triple Beat.
like,
So
we
they're
thought
playing.
Robin made a mistake, but Robin was one step ahead of us, bro. Show
So
him the other page.
what's with
Yeah,
the that says
we thought maybe Robin
Japan
messed up
standard.
the Japan standard thing for a second.
So pretty much with this, we just weren't sure if I mean what it looks I mean Indonesia is playing with a format that no one else is playing with right now because Japan has
Yeah,
Clayburst and Snow Hazard with Iono and all that stuff. And over here we don't have the cards from Triple Beat, but it looks like they've got like a hybrid of the two formats
yeah,
where
there's like
they're
in between.
in the in between. I guess the format Japan was playing with before Clayburst and Snow Hazard came out.
Yeah, because I'm looking through the deck list. Yeah, actually, now I'm looking through them again. The one deck list does have actually cards from the new set. Because I was looking through all the deck lists of all the tournaments we are going to be talking about, and I didn't see anything new. I was like, it says Japan Standard on the tournament page, but none of these decks have new cards. But I didn't read that little thing at the bottom of the results there. So yeah, Robin one step ahead as usual. But the Lost Tina, 8th place Lost Tina does have the Jet Energy. So there is one new card, I think, in all of these decks
Yeah.
from the Triple Beat. So maybe Triple Beat looks like it's a pretty bad set,
Hey, listen,
unfortunately.
Azul, you've been dogging on Lost Tina, but just wait. Jet Energy, baby.
Yeah, if you want to get top 8, then Jet Energy will get you there, but no further, no further. That's the furthest it'll get you. But yeah, we could start with taking a quick look at Bogota. I guess we're already over there, so
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can finish up there. So Hedrick took it all down with a Lost Box build, Turbo Lost Box, Turbo-ish Lost Box. I mean, pretty Turbo Lost Box, right? That's Turbo Lost Box.
Yeah.
The only real not turbo part about it is it only had one Forest Seal Stone instead of 2. Instead, opted for the Sky Seal Stone, the Raikou into the Lugia matchup, and also for the Drapion into the Mew matchup. Pretty useful for both, like pretty heavily useful for both those matchups. And then
Yeah.
like, yeah, all the usual suspects, right?
Even Dragonite can get in there against the Arceus decks, right? If you set up
Or
some
Gudra
damage
as
with
well. Yeah, yeah,
Sableye,
yeah.
Gudra, yeah, yeah. So there's plenty of uses for Sky Stone. And this is starting to seem to be a more popular thing. I mean, the list that won Brazil, right, played both Forest Sealstone and Sky Sealstone in it. So I mean, moving into Hartford, I mean, I guess we'll talk about Hartford and the rest of the events happening this weekend later in the episode, but I mean, do you think just moving forward the format in general, are we going to see more of this, more of the split?
Yeah, we saw a little bit after EUIC. I feel like that's where I started to see it the most was after EUIC. And yeah, I think probably like there's enough good matchups for this guy Seal Zone where it kind of makes sense. I haven't played a ton with this kind of more straightforward build recently at all. Like I played the Kyogre build at Portland, of course. And I really like the Kyogre for the Lugia matchup, but the Sky Seal Stone can get you maybe just that little bit extra that you do need. The one thing I did like in this deck that's not in this build here from Andrew, especially alive alongside Sky Seal Stone, is Double Boss. I'm a big fan of Double Boss, especially when you're rocking Sky Seal Stone. You definitely need a boss, and we do see that in there for Andrew. But I'm a big fan of Double Boss in the builds with Sky Seal Stone. So that's like the only thing that kind of stood out to me. But yeah, I think moving forward, Sky Seal Stone seems pretty solid for sure, for sure.
And then
Um, Go
we've
ahead, you
got
want to take it away?
Lost Tina getting second place, Azul's favorite deck. I mean, listen, they get past top eight. They get
Yeah,
past top
they
eight.
did. They get past top 8.
Gabe Smart getting third with Lugia Archeops. I don't think there was anything spicy at all on this list, but it's
No,
like, I mean, just that's
basically
kind of
just
what
a list that
Lugia
Reagan
feels
played.
like in this format. It's just like a consistent, solid, good deck. But it feels
No
to me like
spice.
there's little room. Like Lugia last format, there was room to like make plays and do a lot of different things. This version of Lugia
This
feels a lot more like one dimensional almost. I don't
Yeah, this
know.
format, if you try and do anything special throughout a game with Lugia, you run out of energy. Like retrieving a
Yeah.
Pokemon ever is just like a death sentence. You're like, nope, I have energy on it. I've got to keep swinging because otherwise I'll run out of attackers. Yeah. So yeah, Lugia has definitely become way more one dimensional. You can retreat like once in the whole game before you run out of energy.
Yeah.
So unless you get really lucky with your earn to single strike energy back and forth, but yeah, the deck is just definitely. I mean, it's solid. The thing is that kind of speaks to its power level, right? It needs very few options to be so powerful, and doesn't need to have too many tricks to kind of beat everything in the format.
And Connor
Um,
Fenton also got top 8 with it. Once again, um playing the similar to Reagan list. The one thing here is he did have the Stone Journer in here. Usually when you see people playing the single strike Urshifu, they're playing Evil Tall as their one prizer, not playing the Stone Journer. But Connor did opt to play the Stone Journer and played one less Tyranitar, but also had the
mhm.
Thornton in here as well.
And no pumpkin and an extra
Yeah.
impact energy. So like no pumpkin, Thornton over Penny, Stone Journey over T-Tar.
The
Um,
impact energy I think makes sense if you're going for these like heavier one prizer line, right? Like especially
yeah, I
Evil
guess a
Tall just
little
because you
bit.
need 3 colored energy on it. Like you can't.
Yeah, I mean, it helps. Yeah, it definitely helps a little bit. Yeah, because it can get you out like +1 attacker without having to use an earn for sure. Especially
Yeah.
depending on how you draw. Like if you just draw a little bit off and you just like research discard one, then you have like the backup of the impact energies. Yeah, so for sure can make like make a difference. I mean, for the urge to hit the relevant numbers like back to back, uh, one hit KOing like the opposing Ursh or Duraludon, you do need like back to back big swings. You do need to earn plus 2 single strike, but or you need 3 single strike energy to get to the 330.
Yeah.
That's the number I'm trying to hit. But yeah, that seems like Lugia has been pretty standardized for the most part. I've still seen some people running around with like no Ursh, no Duraludon, but I've been barely seeing like any Duraludon recently. Um, and there's a Mew from Alexander, just kind of the go-to path shenanigans build. There's an Arvin in this build, so like a little bit of a cool tech there with the Arvin.
Yeah,
Um,
dude. Arvin, honestly, like I hate
nah,
Arvin and Mew so much, dude. Anytime I see someone playing Arvin and Mew, it's just I mean, the deck you want to play Judge every or Boss every single turn of the game. And your
yeah,
deck is so consistent already. Like playing a card like Arvin, yeah, it is cool. You go get your VIP pass and your Seal Stone, or you go get your choice belt and a power
your
tablet. Like
tablet, yeah.
there are cool plays you can do with it, but like you're probably drawing through your whole deck anyway. I will say, like with the 4 path, the 4 vacuum, like you can get a little more clunked up than normal. So maybe having just this one card you can grab off Cramomatic just barely gets you there. But like if it is just getting you there and you could have potentially gotten there while also disrupting your opponent anyway, I just don't feel like it's worth playing. I don't hate the Avery. Obviously, Pablo played the Avery in his top 4 EUIC list.
Yeah,
Um,
it's good against Guardy, but
it
right
is. That's
now,
pretty much it. Is it like I mean,
yeah,
it's
that's it.
okay in other matchups too. Like it's
Mirror
okay in the
match.
mirror, but Guardy is really the main reason to want Avery. And it's like it's honestly just so situational against it as well because later in the game you'd rather be judging almost than Averying even once they're set up. Um, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Avery, I think Avery was good. Like this is like a week late for Avery because like Guardy had its moment in Portland and it definitely hit a big downswing after that. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Avery. I mean, but like this is like not too much different. Like this isn't anything too ridiculous. This is just like the Mew build, right?
Yeah.
Judges the paths. I didn't know you hated Arvin so much, so sheesh. But yeah, that was the Mew build from
Get the Arvin out
Alexander.
of here, Alexander, bro. Come
And
on.
then Carlos, 7th place. We don't have Eric's um 8th place list, or the 2nd place list from Jonathan. But Carlos with Lost Box Kyogre. It looks like the exact same 60 that Grant ran in Portland.
Yeah.
Um, so nothing too spicy there. Jonathan, though, uh, with the Arcudra, I mean, there's some stuff in here, that's for sure.
A lot
There's
of
definitely
stuff, a
some stuff
lot
in
of
here.
Pokemon. Yeah, I got a Dragonite V. I actually have not even looked at this list yet. I was
This one's a little wild.
honestly thinking um before we even started about like, just the cycle of Arceus decks, right? And we've seen Arcturalodon. We've now seen Arctina do really well. I mean, what are the other partners that have seen success for Arceus in the past? Flying Pikachu and Gudra. Which one's up next?
I mean,
Maybe
Pikachu was
it's
about to have its moment until until
Well, it wasn't
Better
gonna
got
have its
DQ'd.
moment unless that Arceus V-Star found its way to the top of the deck magically.
That's true.
Somehow, some way.
Bro, Peak just wants its moment back, bro, and it got taken away from it. Poor Peak. Not even Peak's fault. But yeah, maybe Guja's a little bit better than people are giving it credit for. Maybe Lawson Guja's not as good as it seems. Lawson Guja's definitely a little bit more fragile. I feel like having that just like nice opening with the Arceus is just good, right? Like just being able to open Arceus and just like kind of set up from there into other stuff. You get like consistent, a little bit more consistent turn one into turn two. You put on some pressure with the Arceus, and you have the follow with
Yeah.
the Gudra. The Dragonite in here is interesting. The Serena's pretty cool though. I kind of like the Serena in here, like against the Lost Box matchups. That's got to be pretty good, right? You're swinging with Gudra, you're healing with Serena, combo that with a Crystal Cave. That's a lot for Lost Box decks to deal with. I feel like.
And you got the Sharon's Karen here to pick up your Arceus even as well. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Gudra's obviously just like a really good card right now and just like a solid card in general. I think the question is like, is this ever better to play than the Lost Zone engine? And like you
Yeah,
said, Arceus just adds nice consistency to most decks. Now, it does get a little weird because Arceus sometimes just to work, Arceus needs to Starbirth to go get your double turbo energy to like even
yeah.
attack, right? And if you're using
Lose that
Starbirth,
star.
you can't use Moisture Star. And
This is
Moisture
one of
Star is
the
really the biggest draw of Hisui and Gudra.
if you're not moisture starring against like Lugia, you're pretty much losing. I mean, if they get to the Urshifu, you're losing anyways. But like, yeah, that'd be like the biggest drawback is if you have to Starbirth against Lugia, they're probably just beating you on the spot because of that. Yeah, I don't think this is like anything. It's not the crazy new hype, but definitely a cool homebrew for sure from Castillo with the Arc Gudra. It's cool to see something different out there in the top 8 for sure, right?
Yeah.
Definitely cool to see that.
So let's look at I guess we'll look at the Philippines next because it's the same format and Indonesia's the like kind of in between format. We don't have a
And
lot of
I'm
lists here. Just we
yeah.
see that I mean, there was a lot of Mew in top 8, it looks like as well, but
Or
um,
Mew, 3 Lost Box, 3 Arctina. I mean, it was close. I wouldn't say there was no not too much more than what else was out there as the higher counts. Just one extra.
yeah, I
It's
would be
close.
really curious to see Reggie Drago here at the 13th spot
I wanted to
though.
see that list too, but then it wasn't there. Um, but I think the first place list was a pretty standard, straightforward path judge Mew. Like I don't think there's anything too special in it. I'm pretty sure that's what was going down in the Philippines. And the third place list you can look as well. Path, Judge, Mew, has the Avery in there.
No
Um,
Arvin.
No Arvin, no Arvin. So Arvin not always necessary, but sometimes necessary, even
Whoa,
though
whoa,
Chip hates
easy.
it. What did Arvin do to you, Chip? Does he like do something in the video game that you didn't
It's
like?
just
Like,
been no, bro. Arvin's a homie in the video game. He saves Mabostiff. Are you kidding me?
oh, I didn't know that. But in the TCG, bro, dude, If my opponent flips over an Arvin, I'm triggered, bro.
More or
Pile
less so than
shuffling.
if they pile
Yeah,
shuffle.
I say pile shuffling triggers me. Arvin triggers Chip.
Yeah.
um. Then, yeah, I think the Guardy list was pretty straightforward as well. Nothing
Similar to
special, nothing too
Tord, yeah.
spicy.
It has the Forest
Uh,
Seal instead of Sky Seal.
yeah, that I don't know about that. I feel like for the Lugia matchup, you want not that you couldn't play Forest Seal because a lot of the matchups you don't need Sky Seal, but the Lugia matchup specifically, I feel like
I mean, I think against Mew as well. I think if you
yeah,
don't have
Mew as
Sky
well.
Seal against Mew, your matchup against Mew is way worse.
Well, I mean, you can still just KO two Mews, right? I don't think it's that much worse. You just lose the boss option, the boss out, right? I think it's like I think the main
Yeah.
one for me has been Lugia. Like I feel like I'm like sometimes I'm just losing the prize trade. And it's like okay, well I get back into this because of the Sky Seal Stone. That's like
Oh,
been the big one
sure.
for me. So I don't like the no Sky Seal Stone, but I don't mind the Forest Seal Stone. You know what Forest Seal Stone combos with Arvin? They should be trying out the Arvin in there
Bro,
for sure.
no, stop. Now that Azul knows, he's just not going to let it go. And the only other list that's posted here is that good old Dialga V-Star. This is
Yeah,
one
good
I
old Dialga
see
V Star, the goat.
the go-to. Good old Dialga, yeah. I mean, this is just a deck I don't know. It's always funny to see people picking it up. I've actually not even really played with it, but I've played against it at my locals once.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Did they get you?
no, I played Avery and my Mew, and they had I think they mistakenly discarded their Rotom V when they had a bad hand, and then they just dead drew the rest of the game, and I won in like 4 turns, KOing like little Magnemite after Magnemite.
That is unlucky.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool to see Dialga get a result. It's been a little while. I think the last time I remember seeing Dialga was San Diego when it was like actually close. Like it was like a win or two away from top 8.
No, it got top 16 at one of these other tournaments. It got top 16 at like
You go digging for the list.
no, it was like I think it was like this Malaysia regional league. No.
Oh,
It was one of these first tournaments in
try again, Chip.
mm, I'm digging. Now I'm committed now.
Just go to the next one. Go to the one under go to the Philippines regional
Oh,
league. Check
this is
that one.
it. Yeah. No, it's not.
I don't think this exists. I think you're just making this up
No,
at
no,
this
no.
point.
This is the that was the wrong format. No, I swear, dude.
I don't think so. I think it was maybe an online tournament that you saw it in because they definitely did made waves in online tournaments or did some stuff. Not I'm not gonna say made waves, but
Made waves. Azul GG.
Chip hates Arvin but loves Dialga
Nah,
so
bro.
much that he's
Look at this.
fabricating
Top
placements.
16 Regional League
All right,
Bangkok, 495 players,
congrats. Another Dialga deck had another top 16.
22 energy
Is it like the
cards.
same build?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I kind of wish I could try that deck out, but PTCG Live has felt so bad recently that I just can't play games of Pokemon, which kind of sucks.
Yeah. Dude,
Um,
we should have done a topic this week about TCG Live, but like
always next week. Or
yeah,
the week
maybe
before it's
so.
supposed to officially release. Dude, June 8th, bro. I'm so excited for June 8th. I'm so ready. I'm gonna make it like
It's
a
so
freaking
bad,
a
guys. The
holiday.
TCG Live, it's so bad. It's so bad. I've been trying to do coaching on it, and literally for some reason, like when I'm playing, the timer starts counting down as soon as my turn starts from 15 seconds. As soon as my turn starts, I see 15 seconds go. And it's like, okay, boom, 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 which is not intuitive for coaching at all because you want to like talk through things. And then my
I mean, the fact that you can't
students,
turn off the timer makes it like
yeah,
that's
and
like a
my
really rough part to
students
do.
that when the timer works normally, like it starts at I think it's supposed to be like 60 seconds or something or 30 seconds, whatever it is. Um, but then when it gets down to the countdown, it starts at 15 seconds. Once the timer hits like 9 or 10 seconds, their turn just ends. It says there's 9 seconds left, but the turn stops and they just pass. And it's like I'm doing all my coaching and all my like serious testing and stuff on Limitless Tabletop from here on out. There's just no
Limitless
better
tabletop. What
option.
imagine if there's more people playing Limitless Tabletop Simulator than PTCG Live? That would be insane if we get to that point by the end of the year, like before the end of the year.
If there was a
Robin, dude,
way that you could like challenge people and like or at least see a friend's board, like just do it all in this
yeah, if you
thing.
could, yeah. I mean, listen. I mean, I don't know. Robin told me that he's listened to the podcast in the past. So, Robin, if you're listening to this episode specifically,
Dude,
if you need a new project, you've been doing a lot. I know you do a lot, but if you
yeah.
need a new project, make it so you can like link up with someone and you can see their board, them moving around their cards on their side of the field. We could
Do
always
you
just share
know
screens in Discord, but it would always be like a little bit more enjoyable, of course.
do you know about Dueling Book in Yu-Gi-Oh?
No. What is a
Dueling Book
dueling
and
book?
Yu-Gi-Oh is pretty much like the way most of their community plays online, and it's basically limitless tabletop, but, like, you can play against someone. So it's kinda like
Okay.
a combination of you know what Pokemon Showdown is? It's kinda like a combination of Pokemon Showdown and limitless tabletop, where, like, you have to do everything manually, but, like, you can play against someone. But it's like
Mhm.
what the entire Yu-Gi-Oh community uses, I think, to, like, play online, even though they
Yeah,
have
even if
Master
there
Duel,
was
which
like
is, like,
a
actually a good game.
yeah, if you could do like I mean, once again, Robin, if you're just like bored and you have time for a project, if you could do like a little
If
like
you're bored, Robin, just make
yeah.
a
I
Pokemon
mean,
TCG game.
I mean, part of it, I feel like part of how this the tournament side exists is Robin had to have been a little bit bored and wanted to do something, you know, with the for the Pokemon TCG community. But yeah, like anything like that to add to it. Even like you could even like make a little bit like ranked ladder, limitless ranked on the tabletop simulator. Um, and that would be a better ranked ladder than what we have on PTCG Live. Did you see James's tweets earlier? Um,
James.
James Cox.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I mean, if we're on PTCG Live now for a little bit, so
Oh gosh. Alright.
we won't stay here
Detour.
long. We'll definitely talk more about this the episode before June 8th. I'm so
Here,
excited for
link
June
the
8th.
tweet you want me to show.
I can't even find his Twitter. Finding people's Twitters on Twitter is so hard now. Oh, we have to do the. I remember we came up with the formula. You just gotta
Azul and I've talked about
Google it.
this a few times when we're trying to pull tweets for the podcast, but it's like it is impossible to just use the Twitter search bar to find someone on Twitter
It's
anymore. I don't know
hard.
what happened. Something Elon did, pushing
Yeah, because like
verified accounts and stuff. Like you just cannot find people.
James's
Like
name is literally James Cox. His ad is PTCG James C. But if I put like James Cox into the search bar, I feel like James should show up there. Like we're in the same I'm not following him. I'm following him now. We follow each other now. And then like they're in the same space, or they have to be like connected to the algorithm has to realize that me and James follow a ton of the same people and tweet at the same people and I probably replied or liked each other's tweets at some point. Like how does James not pop up for me there? But
yeah,
now we've figured out the formula, which is just to put the players' names into Twitter and then put Pokemon Twitter. So we don't even use Google. Google is better, I guess, than Twitter search. But yeah, James tweeted. If you found the tweet, search it.
yep.
James tweeted, played PTC Live in a coaching session. The game slowly reduced timer. Eventually, timer just bugged out and did not pass a turn, but just conceded the game. I used to like PTCG Live, but I just can't defend it anymore. I'm the highest rank in the game. I just wish it was better. My stream is getting worse and worse because the queue times are unbearable at high rank. It's basically a lottery if a Master Ball player is queuing at the same time as me. And there's no compensation in having my number on the screen. I can flex. I hate this. So yeah, James's streams have been like I'll tune into them now and then. James just
I've
kind of
watched
like
them as well.
mostly like just I mean kind of like tryhards on ladder. You know, talks through their turns, explains what's going on, and as was like they mentioned in their tweet, they're the highest ranked player in the game, and probably was last season or last month as well. But one of the problems is the ELO system or whatever won't pair you so low apparently. So it's like at high ranks, I've heard it's really hard to get games. But what basically needs to happen, I think is I don't know what game this is basically how it works for us, maybe Hearthstone, but basically when you search up a game, it should look for a player in a certain range as you. And if it fails that range after like 10 seconds, it should immediately widen the range for the next 10 seconds
That's
and then
how
widen the
queuing in
range.
like every online ranked game
Yeah, it's
ever
like not
works.
hard, and it should expand until you find someone to play against. It doesn't matter if the only person
Dude, does
for
nobody
James to
who
play against is
is
zero.
building is nobody who's working on TCG Live, like, has no one ever built a video game before this one?
I
Is this
don't
like
know.
I don't
And
know,
since I've
man.
started doing like I actually wasn't like I haven't been doing that much on PTCG Live for a little while, but doing a lot more recently with like getting back to the content stuff and then like coaching and stuff. But like there's such a massive desync I've noticed because through coaching, there's a huge desync
Oh, yeah, yeah,
with the
yeah.
players. Like it's like one player flips the coin and then 10 seconds later the coin flips for the other player, which is
Yeah,
like
I've noticed it.
why? This does not exist in any other doesn't exist in Hearthstone, Magic Arena, none of the other clients have this like massive desync where like someone plays a card and it's like 10 seconds later they played the card and it's like I don't know, there's just so much stuff wrong with PTCG Live I could go into right now. We're not going to go too far, but yeah, Jaden's tweet is fresh and new, and it's even pushed one of PTCG Live's biggest defenders or just kind of non-haters over the edge. as it feels like it's pushing more and more people out of the space. And a free Lugia deck is no longer enough to satisfy the needs of the customers. The gameplay itself is the thing that is pushing people away from PTCG Live. The gameplay, the whole experience,
And
everything is super unintuitive. The free Lugia deck, nice try, TPCI. The free Lugia deck's not enough there.
And here's the
Tried
thing
though.
too, like the thing about the queue times as well, like at the highest ranks, if not a lot of people are up there. I mean, because to be honest, to get to Master Ball rank in TCG Live currently does require a lot of games. It requires a lot of playtime to get to that point. Even though it's not a true ELO system, right? It's not a true ranked system. Like you're not actually ranking up at a normal rate because like based on what your opponent's rank is, any of that, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, like you're gonna the way it is right now, there's just not it's hard to get to that master rank. So your queue times are just gonna naturally be a little bit longer, even if
Which
it's
is
like after
fine.
10 seconds. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna naturally be a little bit longer. But that wouldn't be an issue. It would be less of an issue, I should say, at least, if the game was better and more people played it and more people cared enough
Yeah.
to spend the time playing it, to work hard, to up their rank. If there was a real rank system, if there was something for them to play for, like more people would play it and grind the game. You would probably grind it more. I would play it a lot more.
Yep.
Like because it makes good content as well, right? Like
Yeah.
pushing for higher ranks and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I'll put this
It's
out
just
there.
not in the game, and so less people play it, and so
I
I don't
hope
know.
someone from TPCI is listening. I feel like they've had to listen to at least an episode or two of our podcast, but it's gonna make it back to TPCI. I love hating on PTCG Live. It's one of my favorite things to do. I think it's all warranted. I think everyone should hate on PTCG Live, but I'll throw a little bit of constructive criticism out there. The first thing is like you need to be able to compare other people's ranks to each other. For like that little bit of like that's a flex, right? So you can like flex on everyone, you compare yourself to everyone. But also like making it simple. You should easily be able to queue into other people, right? It shouldn't take forever to find a game. Expand your reach every 10 seconds, whatever. Literally just copy what Hearthstone does. Um, and then
I
the
feel
last
like
thing
you've
would
said
just
that
be
exact sentence so many times.
literally just copy what Hearthstone does. And then the last thing would be all they would need to do to like really want people to grind is one, be able to tell where you are ranked compared to other people, but then just do a end of month sleeve that just has like rank 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, top 25, top 50, top 75, top 100, top 200, top 250 for the players who are in Arceus ladder. That's it. Everyone would want to get those sleeves, right? The top tens would be one of a kind. They'd be like the same card artwork, but it would just have a number on it for your placement in the at the end of the month, whatever.
Yeah.
That's it. It's so
I mean, they
simple.
already
It's
have like exclusive
so easy.
uh cosmetics and
Also,
stuff for getting to
s-
Arceus tier.
yeah, no, but like make it though. It's like it matters what rank you are because right now
Yeah,
it's just get to
sure,
Arceus
sure.
tier and then it's like and you can't even compare yourself to other people, which is
I
like
don't
the
know. I
worst
mean, I feel
part.
like if you don't have like number one, it's like, why are you even using it, you know?
Well, yeah, but still shows an accomplishment, right?
Sure.
Like,
Dude, the guy who won Pokemon Go Worlds got a freaking world champion hoodie in the game.
oh really? What the heck?
Yeah, so sick, right?
That is pretty sick. Last thing, and this has been kind of miserable. Don't let people queue into the same person 2 games in a row. I don't know if Hearthstone did that. I'm pretty sure they did because I remember back in the day when I used to grind Hearthstone, there was always this like one really good control warrior player I would always want to play against because he was so good. And I feel like I never hit him 2 games in a row. When I hit him, I'd always keep requeuing games like immediately after. I'd hit someone else, I'd play against them. Then I feel like I'd always hit him the game after. So I'm pretty sure Hearthstone does that. But PTTGO did that. You couldn't queue into the same person twice in a row on PTCGO for anyone who didn't know. Everything good that was it's so ridiculous that anything that was good on PTCGO, they didn't take over to PTCG Live. Like that blows my mind. They were like PTCGO, everyone hated it, so we can't use any of that stuff. We have to do everything new. And I just all right, let's move on to the next topic. Keep hating on PTCG Live. If we're gonna get change drastically with PTCG Live or see a new client, we have to hate on it. That's the only way. So get your pitchforks out, sharpen them, get the torches, light them up. Just keep it up, keep going. I think we're heading in the right direction. James Cox has been pushed over the edge. We just need a couple more dominoes to fall, and hopefully we can get there where we get this thing fixed.
Real quick, let's just touch on the Indonesia
Yeah,
Championships. Looks like it was won by Mew. Again, this is like in the next format technically, but not with Clayburst and Snow Hazard, so not with Paldea evolved
just
all the
the
way,
beat.
just a little bit, but the only cards that were played was in this 8th place Tina Lost Zone list. So yeah, we do have the Mew VMAX here. No Arvin, thankfully. No Avery even, which I think I'm also fine with. Um Uh,
That one trekking shoes.
one trekking shoes, one Pokegear, one Great Ball. Okay, the more I've
The
looked at this,
ones.
it did get first place. This is true.
I got the ones in there. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm a big fan of any of those one-ofs, but yeah, another. I mean, Mew kind of did all right overall on the weekend. That's the deck that I have been a fan of recently. I don't think it's really changed any of my opinions, to be honest. And yeah, nothing too Jurassic in this top 8, right? Like everything. I mean, I guess like the biggest thing is this Meloetta Mew build, right? Like the Meloetta Mew thing is probably the thing that stands out the most.
Yeah,
Meloetta Mew
triple
is the way to
catcher.
play Mew moving forward, because of the Spiritomb. So like the results we've seen from was it the last tournament from Japan? Yeah, all the Mews are Meloetta Mews now because you kind of need it. You need the fusion energy in your deck to be able to get around, the Spiritomb when that releases. I think there was not that much Spiritomb in that many lists. It looked like, in a couple of the stream matches I watched, there was some Spiritombs, but yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, you just can't. If anyone flips over a Spiritomb, you literally just concede. So yeah,
Yeah,
it seems
if
like
you
this
don't have
Fusion
it.
Mew is the way to go. Yeah, next format, next set, Fusion Mew is if you want to play Mew still for whatever reason. If you still want to play Mew, you have to kind of go the Fusion route. It looks like.
Yeah, I'm not seeing
um,
in this top 16 from that Japanese tournament. I'm
what
not
the
actually even
Spiritombs?
noticing any Spiritomb.
Yeah, there was some in a couple of the stream games I watched. There was some
Oh yeah, I'm
Spiritombs.
sure. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, in the Guja list, is there a Guja in the top? I think the Guja list
No,
had it. What?
there's not.
Yeah, there is actually a Guja list chip, and it has Spiritomb. So,
Am I? Can I not see? Oh, there's
yep,
the Gudra list. Oh, what do you
chip
know? It has
confirmed
Spiritomb
blind
in it. All right.
live on stream.
Indonesia Championships. We've also got Lugia Archeops getting second place. Pretty standard list here. It's got both of the one prizers in it, but no
And no big
extra
boy.
attacker, no Dura, no Urshifu. Which honestly, like, if no one's playing Duraludon and there's not as much Gudra, do you even need either of those two cards? Like, is this kind of a
Mm,
fine way to go back
It
to it?
gives you an edge in the mirror still to have one of them. Edge and mirror gives you something because the Guja matchup I think is actually unfavorable without it. But we
Yeah.
even if you look at the wait, what are we looking at? Indonesia right now?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, so it gives you an edge in the mirror. I think that's the biggest thing it would give you to have the Duraludon or the other one. So if you're the only Lugia player in the room and Lugia is still pretty popular, I would like to be the only Lugia player playing Duraludon or Urshifu, to be honest. And we see that, and actually, it's interesting. Both of these Guardy lists have, or both of these Lugia lists. Yeah, I'm tired. Both of these Lugia lists have the Guardy. And we did see Mew. There's two Mew in top cut, also two Tina decks. So maybe that was like a shift dealing with Mew slash Tina. The Guardy's a little bit better than the Serena, right? So that might be an adjustment that these Lugia players made, and maybe they didn't expect as much Lost Box, or maybe Lost Box did not do quite as well. We do only see one Lost Box in the top 8. Of course, how popular it was in the rest of the tournament. That would be like a really cool stat, and I don't think. Once again, Robin, if you're out there and you're bored one day, the day one stats aren't always available, but that would definitely be a really cool number to see. Would be because you can only see like the day 2 or the top 8 meta by just going to statistics on the Limitless site. But if there was like under statistics, if there was a day 1/day 2 meta, sometimes we get the numbers from RK9. I want to say I could be wrong on that. We don't get the full numbers. We maybe just get the graph of the top 6 decks. But
I think that's all
um,
that is publicly released.
yeah. But if we ever get more than that, knowing that would be really good. But I don't know if that's ever publicly released. So if it is, wait, no, it used to be though, right?
It did
Remember the
used to
post
be.
that like
Yeah.
Shemansky would put out or RK9 would put out? I forget who put them out. I think Shemansky helped them with that. Those just don't happen anymore, though, do they?
No.
Maybe Robin did used to have those in the older tournaments where those did happen. I don't remember. Can we bring those back? Yeah, Arcanine. Can we bring those? I mean, I don't know if the Arcanine is listening, but I'm just kind of
Azul's
talking
just
into the
hoping
void.
everyone's
Yeah,
listening this week.
everyone loves
Pokemon,
the Uncommon
Robin,
Energy podcast, bro.
Arcanine.
You know they're watching, bro. It's the podcast. Everyone's watching. Hey, I'm just like putting suggestions out there. That'd be cool to see. No one has to do any of this or take any of this seriously. I know we're all busy, but if you get bored, got some extra time, day one stats. I miss
Azul's
those
the
kind of, to be
ultimate like
honest.
ideas guy.
Yeah, I can't do any of this myself, so I gotta kind of send it out into the void and hope someone else can do it. Man, I got so many ideas. PTCG Live, if you guys need to hire someone, you need like a
We're on this again.
uh, management director, like tell people what to do, what they need to fix. I'm your guy. I got ideas for days for PTCG Live. Get me in there. But yeah, no, I think that's all we got to talk about as far as results. Let's get something else, Chip.
I don't think so. With that, we can move into guess that flavor text. But first, we have to take a moment to thank our sponsor of the podcast, Dragon Shield. Huge thanks, of course, to Dragon Shield for being a sponsor of the Uncommon Energy podcast. Dragon Shield makes some of the best card gaming and tabletop gaming products and accessories on the market, including sleeves, binders, deck boxes, and much, much more. I actually had a product I wanted to shout out and talk about this week. This is something that I don't use all the time. I actually really only have one deck I use it on currently, and I think I'm going to put a couple other decks, use these for other decks, and that is some perfect fits. I've got these smoke perfect fits that they sent me a while ago, um, that help protect your cards a little bit better. Basically, just double sleeves. So I have my 2006 LBS deck double sleeved in these. It's a very expensive deck. It's max rarity with a lot of very expensive cards in it. So I wanted to make sure to protect them as much as possible. Azul, I know you don't double sleeve, but have you ever
No.
used inner sleeves for anything at all in the past? Have you ever shuffled decks that have them on them?
I some of the cards in the past I've definitely like. Oh, like I had some of my like like top 32 tropical beaches, or not tropical beaches. I wish I had top 32 tropical beaches, top 32 champions festivals, double sleeved, at
Yeah.
some point. So yeah.
It just is a way to add a little bit extra layer of protection. And some people do, like if you play with max rarity cards, I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea to double sleeve your decks, right? Just try to protect them a little bit more if that's something you're interested in. Some people don't mind riffle shuffling their gold ultra balls, more power to you. Do what you want to do with your with your Pokemon cards. But yeah, I've
No, I'm
got
not gonna lie.
my
Usually that stuff doesn't make me cringe, but whenever I watch Mahone play his cube and he goes in on shuffling that stuff, like I don't like. I would never riffle shuffle someone else's old cards, but like Mahone goes in on his own cards, riffling them. I'm like, "Bro, even that makes me cringe a little bit, and I don't
yeah.
like usually cringe at that stuff ever. Um, but
I'll just show like one card for anyone watching on the YouTube video, but yeah, you just see I like the smoke one because it just adds a little bit of extra color to the inside of the sleeve. These are in I think crimson, red mats as well. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a great way to just protect your more expensive cards in your collection.
yeah, definitely, definitely. Go check them out. Go check out Dragon Shield in general over at dragonshield.com/webshop/US or/EU. You're in Europe. And of course, they're available pretty much anywhere you go. Card shops, Amazon, big retail stores. Check them out everywhere. You can find them everywhere, everywhere. So huge shout out to Dragon Shield, as always, for sponsoring the pod. Excited to try out some matte turquoises this weekend in Hartford.
Ooh,
Looks
very
sick.
nice.
And yeah. All right. Guess that flavor text. Moving on. I'm behind 4 points. And it's my
Heck
turn
yeah.
to give another flavor text for Chip to potentially guess the card slash Pokemon that it belongs to. If it's your first time listening to the pod, the way this works is one of us picks a card and reads the flavor text on the card for the other player, for the other co-host to try and guess which Pokemon that card belongs to. 4 points if you get it without using a single lifeline. For each lifeline you use, you get one less point. The lifelines are what set the card is from, what stage the card is, and then read an attack name from the card. Chip, are you ready?
I'm so ready.
All right. Its heartbeat is fast and its blood is so agitated that it can't sit still for 1 second.
Um okay. So what's like a oh, is it all right? Read it. Is you said it was agitated? Read it one more time.
Its heartbeat is fast and its blood is so agitated that it can't sit still for 1 second.
I want to say this is Spoink because I know there's like lore with Spoink that if it ever stops bouncing, like its heart stops beating. So that would be in line with a Pokemon that's
That would be like so annoying. Like you can't.
you just got to
So
bounce
does
all the
it
time.
sleep bouncing? Does it bounce while it sleeps?
I don't know what the lore. Have you never seen the memes on Twitter where it's like a cute picture of a Spoink sleeping on the ground, and
Oh yeah, and
then
then it's the
it's like if
that's
you
Mr.
though
Incredible, the
yeah,
Mr.
it's
Incredible
like
meme
those
where it's
people
like
who know, yeah,
the people who don't know, yeah, those are good.
because the Spoink is dead. So Spoink is what my first thought was, to be honest, but it almost doesn't. I feel like most of Spoink's like Pokedex entries and flavor texts and stuff would say something about bouncing. And this, I don't. It didn't say anything about bouncing, right? It just said it can't sit still, which
Yeah,
is a
no,
little
the word bounce is
different.
not mentioned a single time.
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna use a lifeline. I mean, I'm ahead, so I'm gonna just take a second to try to. I don't need to get 4 points right with a Spoink
All right,
guess.
buddy.
So I'm gonna go with a guess that wow, I'm tired too. A
Yeah.
lifeline of what set the card is from.
The card is from Unified Minds.
Unified Minds. So late Sun and Moon era set. Let me have you give me what stage the card is.
Is a stage 1.
All right, so that eliminates Spoink. And let's just go ahead and use all of them. Let's read an attack name as well.
Roar.
Hmm. So a stage 1 that cannot sit still that has roar as an attack. It's agitated heartbeat or agitated blood pressure or something, not blood pressure. Pulse. Um shoot. Man, I really don't know. Unified Minds. There was like that was the set like Behem was in, but that's not this. That's what else was in that set? That was the Mewtwo. That was the World's 2018 set. Or 2019, yeah, Worlds 2019 with Mewtwo and Mew tag team, Tina Chomp. What else was in that set, man?
Is that Unified Minds? I don't remember. I think you're right though.
That is Unified Minds. So you guys played Pidgey Control, right? What else was played back then?
All right, Chip. I'm gonna have to whip up the clock here soon.
Yeah, I just don't even know.
Slow plane in guess that flavor text, bro. I mean, I can't get you a DPL for that, but that seems pretty
Hey, listen, man, no one is stopping me from, using all of my comfies if I have game in hand. So
using all your using all of your lifelines.
I should have spaced him out a little bit more. There's no reason, right? Counted to 15 between each action. Oh, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't wanna, like, just forfeit it, but I genuinely don't have a clue. I mean, could it be, like, some dog Pokemon, like Roar? I mean, Arcanine and stuff like that has Roar, but I don't feel like this is an Arcanine type thing. Um, and I don't think there's an Arcanine in there either, because there's one in Unbroken
How do you
Bonds.
know that? How do you know there's an Arcanine and Unbroken
It was the Arcanine
Bonds?
that was played alongside Reshizard, and because
Oh,
that
okay.
was the set Reshizard came out in, so that's how I
All
know.
right. All right, my bad.
Some dog Pokemon. I mean, could it be Herdier or something? I don't really think so. Yeah,
The
I
whole
don't know.
Stoutland line has some interesting flavor text, to be honest.
I'm gonna go with Herdier. I don't think that's correct, but I'm gonna go with it because I don't know what else to do.
It is not the Herdier. I wasn't sure whether to use the attacks roar or slash here, but I think they would have been about equal in stumping you. It is Vigoroth, of
Oh,
course.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and actually, this card artwork, I mean, its mouth is open, but it looks like it has a football in its mouth. Does it actually have a football in it, dude? It's so hard to tell. No, its mouth is definitely just, but the left side. There we go. That's the
No,
one.
bro, that's its mouth.
But look at the left side.
That's
Look at
its
the left side. Is
chin,
that?
dude.
Am
That's
I
its
looking at this,
chin.
dude? I think I'm looking at this wrong.
Look at any other Vigoroth card.
All right, give me another Vigoroth card. Oh, I thought
How
its
are
mouth was
you looking at it?
open. I thought its mouth was open, or there was a football in it. Well, there's definitely not a football in it, but like it looks like there's a football in its mouth.
Does
But its
football
mouth is
exist in the Pokemon
closed.
world?
Does football? Do they play any sports in the? Let us know in the comment section down below. Is any of the anime episodes? Is the sport just Pokemon battling each other? Is that the only sport in the?
No, there's definitely other sports.
Might be. Oh, there's soccer, right? Yeah, there's 100% soccer.
Yeah,
I don't
there's
think there's
those on the ball cards.
on the ball, on the ball. So definitely soccer. Who knows about anything past that though?
All
All right.
right. That's
Oh,
it for Guess That Flavor Text. And now it is time to move on to our discussion about the tournaments coming up this weekend. We've got Hartford. Azul and I will both be there. I'll be casting or doing the analyst lounge, I should say. Azul will be playing. There's also going to
you
be
plan on
the
playing
Malmo regionals and then also a Buenos Aires special event down in Argentina.
a lot of events.
Azul. A lot of events. Yeah, tons happening here. Getting down to the end of the season. So a lot of people are going to be trying to wrap up those last few points for their world's invites. There's going to be a lot of shakeup in the top 16 race as well. tons of stuff happening in the Pokemon TCG world. I guess before we get too much into it, one thing to talk about, or one thing I would want a question I would want to pose is when it comes to making a deck decision, does the factor of, oh, I just need 40 points to get my World's End fight. Is that something that will ever play or should ever play into someone's decision on what deck to play?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you can come up with trying to come up with like a meta prediction for a format, or trying to come up with like the next best deck, I think like this tournament specifically, if someone just wanted points, I think my suggestion would be to play Lugia. To be honest,
Yeah.
or even maybe Mew. Like I
Mew,
don't think
yeah.
like
I
I
was gonna
wouldn't
say
predict. I
Mew.
would Yeah, I wouldn't say play Mew if your goal is to do well in the tournament, but if your goal is like just a day two or top 256 gets points as well, right? I don't know how many you get for top 256, but
I think
um
30.
yeah, if that's your I would say just play something like Mew or Lugia would be my suggestion. I think Lugia's actually like a really good play in general this weekend, but yeah, it does be the one of those two. Like if you've been playing Mew, a ton of Mew, I don't think Mew's gonna win the. If you're trying to win the tournament, I would not play Mew. But if you're trying to show up and get some points, I think Mew is a solid shout for sure.
So definitely something that could play a factor in what you want to
Yeah,
go with. Um, and I think like the idea with that is like decks like Mew and Lugia, like you're just gonna get to play the game a really high percentage of the time. Like you just are
with
gonna
like a pretty
have,
powerful deck.
yeah,
Like
with
yeah,
a
like
deck that is powerful. Exactly. Yeah. And there's less decision, like something like Lost Box, I think is probably um I mean, I guess it's hard to gauge how you measure power level. Like Lost Box is the deck in the format that you can do the most stuff with, but like a consequence of that is that there's so many points in the game where a small incorrect decision can just derail your game plan, right? So by merit of that, I think like it's pretty safe to just say if you just need to wrap up a few points, playing a deck like Lugia or Mew is never a bad choice.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think in these kind of situations, yeah, if you're just trying to get those last couple championship points, those are like I think those are the two go-tos. If I thought about it a little bit harder, I'd maybe come up with something else. But yeah, those would be like my two go-tos. I guess Arctina. I don't think is actually a bad shout either. Arctina. Actually, you know what? I would put Arctina over Mew. I think Arctina is currently the better Judge Path deck, so I would actually say Arctina and Lugia are the two decks I'd put. And that's kind of like that's kind of something I've thought about recently in general. Like, I don't think Mew is I just don't think Mew's that good. I think you're unfavorable. Your Lugia matchup is close, if not unfavored. You're unfavored to pretty much every Lost Box build. More of them are starting to play Kyogre, which makes it worse. And I think you're unfavored to Guardy as well. So I don't think Mew's a very good deck at all right now. If Arctina didn't exist, I think it would be a decent deck to just like try and get points with. I think that'd be like still a fair analysis of it in the meta. But I would actually say go with Arctina instead. And speaking of Arceus decks in general, I guess this is where we can kind of start here. Is like definitely going to be Arceus's most popular tournament, I think, in a while. Hartford probably will be, right? I feel like Arctina just took down Portland, and a lot of people have been playing it, and I think it is pretty good right now. There's also like the Arcturus stuff as well. Like Arceus, I think, is going to be pretty popular in general.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the other Arcturus stuff with like the Umbreon, right? They got top
Yeah.
8 in Portland. There's Arcflying Pikachu stuff that's like popped up here and there. We even talked about Arceus, Hisuian Gudra earlier in the podcast. Like, I think this is going to be a pretty big weekend for Arceus decks. I totally agree.
Yeah, it's not
Um,
going to be like number one plate or anything, but yeah,
yeah, I
compared to
will say
previous weekends.
I think if you're looking at the lists that have done well recently, I think I would lean a little bit more towards Cash's list than Landon's list. And really, the only big difference there is that Cash played the Sharon's Care, and I do think Sharon's Care is pretty good in Arctina
I mean,
overall.
Lost Box is pretty good, so
Yeah,
yeah, one
so
and
I
one
think I would
equals two
definitely
on that
get
one.
Sharon's Care into my Arceus deck this weekend.
Yeah, I
Into my
definitely
my Arctina deck, I should say at
Yeah,
least.
I definitely can't.
Maybe
I mean,
Volo,
it's
honestly,
hard
as
to go
well, is
against
something that
that.
could be
Yeah,
decent. Because you can ditch if they know you only play Sharon's Care, like they can stack damage on your Tina, right?
yeah, definitely. But I mean, I don't know which one's better to be honest. But yeah, one of them I think is pretty good. Like one of the Artinas I beat, if they hit their Terrence Care, I literally lose. And then up against Landon, I was like very happy to know that they didn't play Sharon's Care. Or going into the matchup, I was pretty confident they did not have Sharon's Care. So yeah, I would say yeah. I mean, Lost Box is going to probably be the most popular deck of the tournament, right? I think it's going to be around that 20% again. I don't think anything's going to come. Well, maybe something will come close to it, but it's like yeah, it's definitely going to be the top dog for sure, right? Something might come
Yeah.
close to being as popular, but yeah, top dog. Most popular deck, definitely gonna be Lost Box going into this weekend of events.
And Lost
So
Box is a
I'm
deck
prepared
with
for it.
many hats here as well. We've got the Turbo build, Forest Seal, or Sky Seal, right? We've got Sky Seal boxes. We've got Ogre. We've got things like the Shemansky build with the Moltres and the Kyogre.
Mhm.
And then you've got Sablezard, which I guess we maybe should talk about separately. It's like kind of a different deck, but um, I don't know. Yeah, Lost Box. I know you're a fan of Ogre. Um, that's what you played
I
in
mean, Ogre's
Portland.
whatever. I'm not as Ogre's alright. If it's the best one, if I think it's the best way to play it, I'll play it, but I'm kinda tired of playing Ogre, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I would like it to not be the best build of it for sure. But yeah, there's a lot of ways
Kyogre's
to
just
play it
such a
right now.
powerful option to like win the game. Like you're never
I
out
mean,
of a
500
game
damage is
when
a
you've got
lot.
Kyogre hanging around, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like I made plenty of tons of comebacks with Kyogre throughout the many times I've played it so far this season. Yeah, you're definitely it's a good way to put it. You're never really out of a game. I mean, you are out of some games. But yeah, it keeps you
At
in
some
way
point you get
more
out of the game.
games.
Yeah.
Yeah, it keeps you in way more games than pretty much any other card in the game, to be honest. I don't think any other card keeps you in the game more than Kyogre does. So it is a pretty powerful option to not want to play. But like we did just see, Hedrick take down the special event with like the more straightforward turbo plus Sky Sealstone build. There's just so many ways to play Lockbox right now. The only one that I'm not a big fan of is the Shemansky build right now. Like I think the turbo stuff has its merits. Kyogre stuff's got its merits. And then Sablezard as well. I still kind of like. I really enjoy playing Sablezard. Definitely put your choice belts in, or I've seen people doing Defiant Bands, but like the number one enemy for
Yeah.
Sablezard is Lugia. So I would put your choice belts in over your Defiant Bands. Defiant Band is kind of sus. Um, but yeah,
Do you like
I
any
still
of
like
the
Sablezard
like
as
two
well.
prize Pokemon that people have played in their Sablezards?
And
Like I've
Sablezard?
seen
No.
the Delphox, I've seen the
No,
Entei V. You
no.
don't like any of it?
I think it's all bad. I think maybe Mirage Gate. I think the Mirage Gate is kind of cool because you can get like a really early aggressive Zard, or it just like kind of thins out your deck at the end of the game, getting you like a pivot option through a Comfey plus maybe an energy onto a Sableye. But I think the deck does not see enough cards consistently to play any kind of like multiple Mirage Gate, one of attackers, fighting energy. I've seen like Zapdos before as well, fighting
Well,
energies
the
or the
thing about something
Delphox
like
or
Entei V, right? You can just you can put Magma Basin in your deck, and then you just slap it down and attach, right? So it's like that's a more efficient one. The Delphox, yeah, you need to play Mirage Gates, and like that's a little bit harder to pull off, right?
yeah,
I think there was a was it I think it was top 32 in Portland with the Entei, I think.
not bad. But yeah, I personally would not recommend doing any of those. I would just say straightforward, consistent, as possible. If the one thing I could see would be the Entei,
Yeah.
possibly. I don't know what matchup would be like great against, but yeah, if you determine, oh, there's not even a Magma Basin in there.
Oh yeah, interesting. It's just Raihan.
What is the Entei for? I wonder what the matchup that the Entei is like swings here.
I'm gonna see if I can look up his
Yeah, I would say the Entei seems okay if you're a fan of Magma Basin. Like if you have Magma Basin in there, then the Entei seems better. If you're not rocking the Magma Basin,
Yeah, I'm
I don't know
actually
if I
kind
like
of
the
I
Entei.
saw the Entei and I didn't realize there wasn't the Magma Basin to accompany it.
I wonder what matchup that like is. Maybe like the Mew matchup seems like a solid option, to be honest. The Mew matchup seems like a solid option for the Entei.
He played a lot of Mew. He played 6 Mew in the tournament.
Sheesh. But was not
And
cooking all of them. Only lost to one though, actually.
yeah, lost one, tied one, so
It
went
was
four one
cooking them.
one against Mew.
Entei's broken, apparently, against Mew. Entei's the difference maker.
Well, yeah, assuming that's what it was used in. It
Because
was
like
also
not that good
probably pretty. It
against.
was probably pretty good against this Dialga that was
Yeah,
played in
probably
round
good.
4.
That was oh, that's why they played it. Of course, they
For the
predicted the round
Dialga
four.
Magnuson.
Yeah, round 4 against the Dialga Magneton. They knew, bro. They're like, man, but I don't. What if I go up against Dialga Magneton in round 4? But yeah, it's
Yeah,
mostly a liability. Like you can even like look at a ton of these matchups here against Guardy Gudra, Lost Tina. All it's just a liability against Lost Box Mirrors as well. It's like a liability against all of those matchups, right? So
sure.
the only matchup I could think about would be it's probably decent against Mew. But if it's only for Mew, have you heard of second Drapion?
Yeah, but it's
um,
like it could be a second Drapion that just does other things, right? Because like Drapion literally is
yeah,
only a
of course, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool for sure. Maybe you can like some big hits against T-Tar could be kind of chill as well. There was a choice belt in there that would allow you to like want to KO a T-Tar. They
sure.
fill up their bench or get close to filling it up. So yeah,
So
Lost Box is a lot of routes to take. The only one that I haven't been a big fan of is that the baby Moltres type build. That's the only one that I've been like, I prefer the Sealstone stuff for the most part. Or I do kind of like the Kyogre build that just has like 2 Snorlax as the alternate attacker. So just water and psychic energy. 2 Snorlax, Kyogre. That build has felt pretty solid as well. But when I've played the Moltres stuff, it's always felt like it just kind of gotten in the way and just made the deck more clunky.
So Gardevoir was super hyped up heading into Portland. Everyone was like, "This is the best deck." We even thought I thought it was going to be the most played
It
deck, and it
was
did end up being. Yeah, it was the most played deck
day
day
1.
one, but it flopped super hard. Did not have a good conversion rate. There were none in top eight of Portland. It did okay. I think it had top eight in Sao Paulo, right? But still
Yeah.
didn't do the best there overall. Just that one top eight finish. It fell really hard in Portland, and typically we see this cycle in Pokemon, right? Like a deck does really well, then people respect it or counter it or whatever, and then it does really bad. And then because it did
Yeah.
really bad, people are less worried about it. Is this a chance for Gardevoir to bounce back, or is the reason it fell so hard because Lost Box was really popular? And if Lost Box is going to be really popular again, will Guardy maybe see similar situations come up?
Well, I think like so its initial do well was Tord at UIC, right? Which I think was like the initial thing. Like you don't really ever call anything a fluke, but if you resimulate that tournament, I think Tord has a little bit harder time dodging that many Lost Box. When Lost Box was the most popular deck, I think still at like 20% at UIC. And I think what we saw at Portland was
Tord's
just
filthy plot armor, bro.
I think what we saw at Portland was you just had the Guardies. There was that much more Guardies, so they just hit that many more lost boxes, and it's just a really bad matchup. And that was kind of the thing that happened. So I don't really think there's like this back and forth going on because Lost Box isn't going anywhere because Guardy isn't going to
Yeah.
be as popular, right? So I see no reason why Guardy would be very successful at all this weekend, unless it is a Guardy build tech for the Lost Box matchup. If someone can truly like get that kind of honed in. I mean, we saw like Aiden and Grant Shen playing Klefki's and Mewtwo V Union at Portland. Is that their list right there? Is that we have pulled up?
Yeah. Yeah. This is
That was their
Grant's
list.
list.
Yeah, that's the list from Portland. But I was sat next to Grant a couple different times and talked to him out throughout the whole tournament, and he was like constantly coming up short against every other matchup that wasn't Lost Box, right? Because that's the sacrifice. That's 7 dead cards in a ton of matchups and a ton of situations. That's a lot of dead cards, right? Like at the end of the game, of course, the Mewtwo Unions get in play. Klefki's against like Mew opening early is still good as well. But like that's like a lot of dead cards in a lot of situations. And I think specifically, this is what even Grant mentioned to me, is like the Arceus decks were going to be tough for him, he thought, as he was going into day 2. And I think they were, I don't know how he did against them overall. Lost to 1, played against 1, lost to it, looks like.
He's got a couple question marks on here too that we don't know what they were, but
Yeah. And that's what I think we're gonna see a little bit of a rise of as well as Arceus decks, right? So Guardy right now, I don't think you can play it the straightforward build that a ton of people played it at Portland. A lot of people played a lot of straightforward
bro,
Guardies.
I have not looked
Uh,
at this. This is Aiden's Pokestats live. Literally 8-1 into
one.
day 2, and then 4 L's in a row to start. Dude, you know that he was not feeling good to start this day 2 off.
Well, you
Holy
can see there
cow.
Arctina,
Yeah.
like rough. It's a rough match, it's a tough matchup. That's gonna be a
The
lot more
mirror with
popular.
bad cards in the deck.
Yep, mirror with there's a bunch of clunky cards, like, and then the Lost Box matchup is terrible. But Inteleon Urshifu turned it around for Aiden. So shout out to Inteleon Urshifu. So yeah, I just don't think Guardian's in a good spot. I just don't think there's a. It's really hard for me to come up with a. Oh, so now that we know the Lost Box matchup is terrible, no one's on that copium anymore. That Guardy's like fine against Lost Box without techs. You just go to the teched out Guardy builds for the Lost Box matchup. But then it's like your other matchups suffer so much. Like I don't think there's anything saving Guardy unless someone comes up with the new broken hotness for Guardy. I don't think there's anything saving it. I just think
Yeah.
people shouldn't play it. I think it's just a bad play. I think there's a bad deck in this meta right now. I don't expect that to change until
Listen,
it gets new cards, but when it does,
it's always possible though that you roll up and play it and don't play against more than 1 or 2 lost box. It's always
so
possible.
are you gonna show up with no text then? So you're not teching out your Guardy if you play it this weekend,
You
Chip?
have to wonder if that's the better way to go about it.
I actually respect that a little bit more. That's kind of what I think Tord was going for at EUIC
Yeah.
was the deck is the best deck if I don't hit Lost Box.
And
All
if
right, here we
you like,
go.
even if it's a bad matchup, if it's 70-30, you can roll 30% twice or just once, and it's a game 1 that doesn't finish, or a
Yeah,
game
it's
2 that
hard.
doesn't finish, right?
Yeah, game 3. It's hard for game 3 to finish in that matchup. Actually, I feel like as well. Like because
You
it's a
can
Lost Box deck.
squeeze a
So
tie out, worst case scenario, maybe try to get a 1-0 win.
yeah.
Because Lost Box takes a long time naturally anyway, right? I think that Tord did say that
Okay.
that's like kind of what his thought was going. Like he knows that it wasn't a great matchup, right?
Yeah, he
So
knows it wasn't good, and I didn't think it was I didn't think it was that bad either until I played Portland, and I was like, this is Dude, give me more Guardies, bro. I was like, I hit 4 in a row or something, or 3 in a row. So I was like, yes, keep them coming, bro. I got so excited when my round one opponent day two was playing Guardy as well. They didn't show up, but maybe it was worth it because it would have been a free dub, obviously.
So let's now
Um,
talk about one of the decks that you mentioned as a good play for someone who is just trying to lock up some points, and that's
get those
Lugia.
points.
And I think Lugia like has the legs to go farther as well. I mean, obviously, we just saw
Yeah.
Reagan got second place, right? Lugia is a deck I wouldn't be surprised to see win the tournament. It doesn't feel like in the gameplay right now. There's not a lot of expression of what you can do. We mentioned this like you're kind
If
of just one
Lugia,
dimensional in what you do. You attack with Lugia or you attack with a single strike guy.
yeah, it would be
Um,
hard to get hype about Lugia winning a regional, to be honest. If Lugia wins, like not because of like Lugia's past, but just because the deck is so unhype. Like it's
yeah,
just not
yeah.
exciting at all.
I think the most
um,
exciting things you can do is in your deck building, right? Like when people
which doesn't
played the
exist.
Thornton at EUIC, like that was
Okay,
kind of
yeah,
cool, right? Yeah,
that
that's
was
kind of
cool.
cool. When it's like, oh, people are playing the Ralladon in their Lugia. Okay, that's kind of cool, right? And then
Yeah.
we see Reagan transition into the Urshifu. That's where a lot of people were headed anyway. I guess the question is like, is there anything else maybe to explore for
Uh, I
Lugia?
I don't think so. I think either you backtrack a little bit and maybe don't play the Urshifu, but that doesn't make a ton of sense with the matchup spread currently, I don't feel like. So I think Reagan has kind of set the standard for what you basically play. And we even saw like Connor and Gabe at the special event in Bogota. They basically played the exact same 60, like one or two cards off of what Reagan was rocking. Not to say that they didn't get there by themselves and didn't just copy Reagan, but yeah, I think Reagan's list has kind of set the standard for what you kind of play as Lugia. And I don't think there's too much to change around, but I always like to be proven wrong, and I would like to be the person who proves people wrong. But as I can tell you, as far as right now, my list is literally like two cards off Reagan, so like it's pretty good. Urshifu's pretty cool. Lugia's pretty good too as well. I think Lugia's a very solid play going to this weekend. I think there's going to be a lot of Lost Box players kind of disrespecting Lugia still, and if you go up against a Lost Box player
Tyranitar is
who
so good against Lost Box.
is good, also if you go up against a Lost Box player who doesn't quite know how to play the ogre correctly. If they're playing Kyogre, I feel like the matchup's close, but if they don't play it correctly, you're gonna get them with the Lugia. And then non-Kyogre builds, I think, are actually just unfavored to Lugia. I think every non-Kyogre Lost Box deck is unfavored to Lugia.
Is it worth
I think
playing Penny in a deck like this weekend?
the penny's actually just really good in general, as not even just as a Mawile counter, which it is kind of there for. Like we saw a really cool play from Reagan against Lee in top was 8 or 4, no, on the winning in,
Yeah.
where Lee went, okay, boss up your Urshifu, punch it, and then Reagan was like, okay, penny, and I was like, oh, that's good. That literally like just won Reagan that game. So yeah, the penny's just really good in general. It removes liabilities in any matchup, removes damage in play up against the Lost Box matchup. If you go up against a single price Lost Box deck, you can like attack with Lugia V. If they hit it with like a Snorlax or a Cram, you can penny it up. There's like a ton of things that the penny does. So I think you that or the Thornton. I think you still want to play. You don't want to get Maw Wild cheesed. You don't want to play against the big brain next level player who's like, there's no way Lugia players actually still tech for Maw Wild this weekend. And then the Sable Zards roll up with Maw Wild again. I don't think that's going to happen, or you don't want to be caught with your pants down kind of situation. And the penny's just so good that I think it's just you probably just rock the penny again. I think it's probably better than the Thornton as well, but the Thornton's kind of cool as well. I don't know. They're both chill.
And then the deck
They're
that
chill.
I said that I liked for someone who's just trying to snag some points, and that is Mew VMAX. I think Mew is super good, super consistent,
Kind of mid.
and super high power level. Obviously, as well. Did you say mid?
Kind of mid, yeah.
Kind of
I
mid.
just think unfavorable against pretty much every Lost Box build. Unfavored to Guardy. Lugia matchup, I want to say is unfavorable, but it's probably pretty close. It kind of just comes down to the early judge paths, but it's no better than 50-50. Yeah, I just don't see a reason to play me right now. Just because if you're unfavored against Lost Box, I don't know why you'd ever play the deck, basically. Except like even though you could get Guardy to be probably favored against Lost Box with the Clef Keys and the Mewtwo V Union, your other matchup, your win percentage overall suffers so much to do that, it's not worth it. So yeah, I feel like Mew's kind of in the same situation. You're unfavored against Lost Box, and as Mew, you kind of can't fix it. You'd have to go so far in a way to fix that matchup that your other
Yeah,
matchups become
I
terrible.
do
So
think one thing I think that could be good. I'm not playing Avery currently in my Mew list, but Avery is good against the Lost Box decks because what you can do is you
it's
Avery.
okay.
So what happens a lot of times when I've played Mew versus Lost Box? Sometimes you just can judge path and win, right? Like I mean that's
Yeah,
what Mew does and how you beat other
pretty good
things
at it.
too, just generally. So you will just win games through virtue of that, but a lot of times I mean, they'll have to attack with a two prizer at some point, and you get to a point in the game where You can win by going like Echoing Horn Boss, or like you're a turn away from going Echoing Horn Boss to KO that two prizer again. And Lost Box players will just try to fill their bench so that you can't do that. So if you can get to a point where you've got like three prizes left, Avery that turn instead of judging them, and then play the horn, just get that two prizer in play so they can't claw it back to their hand, or just like get it in play so you can boss the next turn. I think that's another reason that Avery could be a consideration from you this weekend.
Yeah, okay, that could be reasonable. And it's kind of funny to say that because you're hating on the Avery a little bit earlier, and
Well,
also
I
you were
wasn't
hating
hating on the
on,
Avery as
and you were
much.
hating on the Arvin. And you know
Yeah,
what
and
Arvin
don't play
finds?
Arvin.
Arvin finds Echoing Horn. So it's the 1, 2, 3 combo. Arvin for Echoing Horn, Avery to
Yeah,
kill their
dude,
bench,
just
use the
play
Echoing Horn into
Avery,
the
Arvin,
third
and
turn of
Boss
boss.
all
Yeah.
in the same turn.
Yeah,
All in the
don't
same
disrupt their hand
turn.
at all. Just stop disrupting the Lost Box player's hand. You'll be fine. Avery into, or Arvin into Avery into Boss is the combination. We've cracked the code, Chip. Use broken again. Let's rock it.
Let's rock it.
Couple final decks, more on the kind of the fringe side or less played side. Overall is got the Gudra and the Maridon to talk about last. Gudra I actually think is in quite a bit better spot. Less Guardy. The Guardy matchup I think is tough, not terrible. And it's getting replaced by Arceus deck, which I feel like Gudra generally has a decent time against. Arctina, yeah, Arctina seems like a decent matchup. I haven't like really played it too much. But yeah, Gudra, I think Gudra's definitely, it's not great still for Gudra. Especially because like a lot of the Lost Box Kyogre builds have ways to checkmate Gudra currently. I will say this: if you're gonna play Gudra, play a judge because they're not, the Lost Box players not going down to 3 prize cards until they have you basically locked up for the dub in a lot of situations against a lot of different Lost Box builds. So you got to be able to hand disrupt them that turn before. So put a judge in your Gudra deck if you're playing Gudra this weekend, and then probably
Have
still
you
don't
seen
play Gudra,
this?
but it's like not terrible.
Have you seen Mahone's list here from Portland with the Panic Mask?
Panic Mask. Yeah. I remember throughout the tournament in day 2, Mahone said, I wish they were like literally anything else. It makes my lost zoning really easy though. I think Mahone played against one Guardy the whole tournament, and I think he did get the value out of them in that matchup. If anyone doesn't know what Panic Mask does, if a Pokemon attacking the Pokemon that has Panic Mask on it has 40 or less HP, you prevent all the damage from that Pokemon to the Pokemon with the Panic Mask. So up against Guardy, for a Zacian to one-hit KO a Gudra that just attacked in the active spot, you need to put 10 energy on the Zacian, and then you're like KOing, you're putting yourself in that range of that 40 or less HP. You'll have
Yeah.
20 HP remaining if they all come from the discard pile. If one comes from hand and 9 come from the discard pile, you're still in that range. And then if you try and build up the Zacian ahead of time by like manual attachments, they can like boss punch it for 200 ahead of time and kind of lock you out of it. You can like penny it from there, but then once again, you can't get to the 10. So Guardy tech, Guardy was very popular, but I know Mahone did not use them to much effect. But definitely an interesting tech. Potentially still to run in the deck. I guess it still is like yeah, it's still going to be a slightly unfavorable matchup unless everyone goes like a super teched out route. Then their inconsistencies that Guardy comes up with by being super teched out probably makes up to the point where you probably don't need Panic Mask and your matchup is about 50-50 to slightly favored.
Yeah. I'm a fan of two choice belt in this deck as well. I know that I'm
Yeah,
pretty
the
sure
one choice
Mahone.
spot's so good.
What?
At the one choice spot's so good when you need it. So yeah, I kind of like, it's hard to want
Yeah.
to play it, but
Mahone and
2
them did
is good.
play two in London, I know.
Yeah.
And then I mean, I think when you're adding the Panic Mask, it makes sense that you're going to cut some tools, right? That's like a natural cut, and especially when
Or
you're expecting Guardy to be so popular.
could add the Arvin to be able to find your tool.
I'm hanging up.
Need your Panic Mask? Need it now? Arvin.
In a panic, need a mask.
Use Arvin, get your Panic Mask. Last deck to talk about. I'm still not a big fan of this, but Chip, you have other thoughts. Maridon, why do you like it right now?
Yeah, I mean, the version of it I've played around with that I actually really like is different from the other two versions that have gotten top 8, right? So we saw uh I don't know, Maridon, like, it's weird to call it underrated. I don't think it's I think it's probably adequately rated, and like I do think a lot of people disrespect it, but its finishes are good, right? It got top 8 at these two big tournaments. Um
It's like one
w-
squeaking in though. Like the next highest place in Maridon is like non-existent.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, but
someone's got
it's
to run
like
hot.
there's something like the card is obviously very powerful, right?
Of course, yeah, yeah.
And
I
just the
agree.
consistency it provides. Electric Generator is an insane card, right? And especially if you're playing a ton of energy. A
Dude,
13
people
is
were
probably a low hit
mad.
rate. 15 is pretty dang good though. Like you're gonna hit
Yeah.
double double generator a decent amount. And especially like if something like Lugia sees an uptick in play, I think Miraidon has a pretty good Lugia matchup. I think Miraidon has a pretty good Arceus deck matchup as well. So I mean, if these two things are seeing an uptick in play, Azul seems to I don't know what this
I don't know
face
about the
is.
Lugia. It's like I don't know. Lugia's like 50-50 against everything. I don't think I changed. I think it depends if they have the Stone Journey or not. I think that is a pretty big deal. But even if they
Sure.
have the single strike Urshifu, the single strike Urshifu can swing the matchup the same way Stone Journey does because you just can't one hit KO the single strike Urshifu. Um, the right you can get there if you have like 4 Regieleki VMAX in play, you can get there. But like you can definitely set up a board state or go into a board state with the Urshifu where they just can't respond to it. And then Stone Turner, like, obviously just like swings the price trade back to your favor if it
Yeah,
wasn't in your
sure.
favor. But yeah, I think it's like about 50-50 personally. But I know Chip is. I mean, there
Yeah,
is like
so
the potential to just knock out their only Lugia though.
I've been playing around with the list. I talked about this a couple weeks ago that a local played at the League Cup that I went to a few weeks ago. He ended up winning the tournament with it, and it's just like super gas, just the basic Pokemon. So it's Miraidon EX and Raikou. That's it. Heavy switch card. You're using Fleet Footed a lot. You're using Radiant Greninja to draw cards, and then you're just
Right too as well,
KOing
right?
stuff on. You're just KOing. If you go second, you just hit a really high percentage of the time, like where you're just taking 2 prizes. And if you go first, you're almost always taking the first knockout, right? Because there's nothing else that's attacking you
Using.
turn 1. So, yeah, I mean, it's just strong, consistent, fast. And I think the fact that it's gotten, 2 top 8s, there's something still to explore with
Yeah.
Miraidon. Like, Lightning just has great support.
What if you like took the Flaffy Mareep stuff and just played like 4 EXP share for the Raichu to like retain energy for the Raichu, and then kind of went like more turbo with more EXP share.
Yeah, just keep them in
All right,
play.
nobody leak. Anyone who's listening to the podcast, don't leak that. But that's winning Hartford. You catch me.
Don't
Catch
worry,
me
Azul
bodying
doesn't
people with
test,
Miride
so
on EXP share.
he's not
I
gonna
can't
put
test
time into.
PTCG Live. PTCG Live won't let me test. Dude, I tried to play PTCG Live. Let's go back a little bit just for a second. I tried to play PTCG Live the other
Oh
day.
my
It's like the only
gosh.
time I streamed it this week, I feel like. And it was like a third of my games were ended by me bugging or my opponent bugging or something happening. Like, it was insane. It was so frustrating. If anyone saw my short I put on my YouTube channel or the tweet I put out, those games were from that attempted session of streaming PTCG Live to, just play Pokemon, bro. I could not play Pokemon that day on PTCG Live. It was so frustrating. Keep the hate up. You were doing good work.
Well, any
um,
other decks you wanted to mention, Azul?
I think that covers it. We didn't have any predictions wrote down to do, but I got one prediction that we can put out there. Now, we'll get most of this the same initially, but let's try and predict what we think the day 1 graphic will have as far as the 6 decks go, right?
In
So I
order?
think not in well, do you want to do an order? I was gonna say we're probably gonna guess we're probably both gonna have 4 of the 6 the same, and then the other 2 would kind of be like the things that'd be kind of up for grabs. We could try and do an order if you want to do an order.
Oh, let's just do let's say what the last 2 are, because I think the 4 are gonna be Lost Box, Gardevoir, Lugia, Mew, right? Those 4 are
Yeah,
gonna be on there for sure.
yeah. So who do you got? Who's your 5th?
I mean, I think Gudra's on there.
Okay, you got Gudra. I'll do my 5th. I got Artina. I
Yeah,
mean, you can say
Arctina.
Artina as well if you want for your 6th. But who do you got? Who would you have as 6th
No,
then?
it probably is gonna be Arctina, right? I mean, it just won the last tournament. Maybe I wonder if they group Arceus variants together. I hope not. Probably
No,
not,
I don't think
right?
they put Arctur and Arctina
Yeah.
together. No. The only one I want to know is if they put Sablezard with the rest of the Lost Box stuff. That's what I'm curious about.
They
Is if they do that or
probably I
not.
think they do.
Okay. I don't care if they do or don't. I just want to know. Like, yeah, I
I
don't care if
think
they
they
do or
do.
don't. Also, if they could release a full day 1 and day 2, or at least just day 1, because we get day 2. If they could release a full day 2 meta share, that'd be great. If they could do that again, that'd be sick. But who would you have as number 6 then, Chip? Or would you be
Ar
Artina and Gudra?
It's Arctina and Gudra, I think. I mean, I think it's definitely Arctina. I should have said that initially.
Yeah, I know that was silly of you. To be
Yeah,
honest,
so
that
silly.
was.
So foolish. So foolish.
Yeah, it's hard to not say Gudra. The other 2 contestants, I think, are Miraidon and Arctura to take that slot. But I'm gonna go with everyone's favorite deck, Lost Tina. Lost Zone Tina will be squeaking in 6th place at 5.7%. Squeaking in 6th place on the graphic. Yeah, it's
That's a
like
pretty
the
high percentage for 6th place, I think.
4.2%. This is kind of like a game show. Will it make the graphics? It's like a game show. Will it make the graphic?
Yeah, we're playing
At
our own version
Hartford.
of The Price is Right over here.
Yeah, Hartford regionals. But yeah, we didn't put any predictions down here like we usually do, but I thought I'd sneak one in there.
Yeah,
Um,
good looks.
I don't think production will be too mad at us. But yeah, Chip, You got anything else you want to get out there before we send the people or send ourselves out?
I don't think so. I think that's going to do it for us, Azul. Thanks, as always, to everyone for listening, checking out the podcast, and showing your support. If you enjoy, please be sure to leave a review, a rating over on your favorite podcasting platform. Also, drop us a like and subscribe here on the YouTube channel if that is where you are watching. And if you want to interact with us more and stay up to date with what's going on in our lives and also with the podcast, the best place to do that is over on Twitter. You can follow myself at Chip Ritchie, Azul at Azul_GG, and you can follow the podcast at Uncommon_Energy.
Appreciate the support as always. Good luck to everyone playing in any of those major tournaments this week in Malmo, Hartford, or Buenos Aires. And yeah, if you want to say what's up, you see me at Hartford, feel free to say what's up. I'm sure Chip feels the same. And see y'all next Tuesday, 7 a.m. Eastern.